all thought it would happen again. That a woman would make the main event final table. We just didn't know who would do it, or when she would do it, or how she would do it. Leo Margets gave us all the answers.
Oh man, 67 million out there.
In prayer is Veloso with ace-king here. Margets with the hooks.
Wow.
Oh, it is the third club. Fourth for Margets.
That is, I think, the most incredible moment of my life.
Now, Leo carries the pressure of the moment, plus the weight of so many who came before her, as she plays the biggest final table of her life. Her task is not easy. The grinder is a legend. Kenny Hallaert is a pro's pro. Hendrix is nearly flawless. And John Wasnock is an amateur with no fear. But the poker world has been waiting for this night for 30 years. And now that Leo Margets is at the final table, there's only one question left to ask. Can she win it?
If you love poker, this is the place to be. One of the best main event final tables in history is just moments away from cards in the air. Hi everyone, Jeff Platt welcoming you to the biggest day in poker. I'm joined in the booth by Brent Hanks and Nick Wright. Yes, that Nick Wright. Natalie Bodie will report from the sideline. We are fired up. Hope you are too. There is so much at stake tonight. So many stories worthy of top billing, and there are so many players worthy of becoming the world champion and taking home that bracelet and $10 million. It's been 30 years since a woman has made the main event final table. Spanish pro Leo Margets ended that streak with a combination of tough play, staying calm under pressure, and yes, a little bit of luck. She starts the final table in 5th place. In any other year, Michael the Grinder Mizrachi would easily grab all the headlines. What a year he's had. He won the Poker Players Championship for the 4th time, a mind-boggling accomplishment on its own. And then he final tables the main after being down to just 3 big blinds. What a legend. But let's not forget the chip leader, 50-year-old amateur John Wasnock from just outside Seattle. The only player over 100 million in chips. Waz has his work cut out for him with a loaded final table, including Mizrachi to his direct left. Before we get started, a look at the leaderboard brought to you by PokerStars. Wasnock and Grinder run 1-2, but some strong pros in Kenny Hallaert and Hendrix lurk. This final table is wide open. The 9 remaining players are millionaires, but to varying degrees. Payouts presented by GTO Wizard. 9th place is a flat million. 1st place is 10 million. Each pay jump is so valuable, which is part of what makes this so much fun. All right, enough of us for now. We are just moments away from the start. From 9,735 entrants to 9, and it's time to play down to a champion to get our final table underway. Let's send it down to World Series of Poker Senior Vice President Jack Effel.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final table of the 2025 World Series of Poker main event. We're in level number 39. There's 66 minutes, 41 seconds remaining at the current level, 800,000, 1.6 million, with a 1.6 million big blind ante. Kenny Hallaert has the button in seat number 2. I know you guys are ready, so sit back, strap in, and get ready for the greatest final table of all time. And let's shuffle up and deal.
And with that, The World Series of Poker main event final table is underway, and Nick, it plays host to an electric atmosphere.
Poker is the greatest gambling game ever created. The World Series of Poker main event is the greatest poker tournament that's ever existed. And this year's rendition has a chance to be the best World Series of Poker main event ever. It is an honor and a privilege to be here alongside you two guys.
Great to have you here. You can feel the energy, the electricity in there.
I don't recall, dare I say, the Thunderdome being this energetic, if you will, in quite some time.
Daehyung Lee out of South Korea. Good one to kick things off with the ace-queen. Leo Margets, eyes of the poker world on her. But not this hand. Hallaert with the queen jack on the button.
Expecting very tight, snug play early on.
Unless your name is Dunaway or Mizrachi.
Unless your name, yeah, those two in particular, even Waz, the lone amateur.
He'll mix it up.
This final table. Really unpredictable.
We saw Lee has a large contingent that seems to have come in today from Korea.
It didn't have a big rail
No.
throughout these last couple days.
That's a quick flight.
And he had been wearing a mask. He's taken his mask off. He's talked about wanting to grow the game in Korea.
The clock.
The clock?
It's not running. The clock is not running, man.
Waz will defend with 2
They'll
5s.
adjust, probably.
5 in the window. Queen, Jack 5. Trouble brews immediately for Lee.
Lee only started the hand right around 20 bigs. This money might just get in.
What an absolute disaster for Lee. And Waz poised to take a somewhat commanding chip lead right off the bat.
See if he decides to get very aggressive, put in a check raise on this type of texture. Again, remember, Lee's likely opening a premium hand. We can see it's ace-queen.
The raise is coming in.
Does want to get more in the middle, lines up the check raise to 6.5 million. An immediate look back at the cards by Lee. And he jams, and here we go!
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Hand number 1 at the final table has 72 million in the middle.
Set versus top pair. Set of 5s, ace queen. Set of 5s. Ace queen and grip.
Unreal.
Everybody else in line for a $250,000 pay jump. Lee's dead to runner.
Ace queen is all in.
Queen, jack 5, ace.
The hell?
10 or a king are really his best cards. Either way, he's got to go perfect.
Will you have any hope at all? That 10 is there on the turn. You hear that rail we mentioned. Chanting for Lee's only out. Has to be a king or Lee's day is done. Right off the bat. It's paint, but it's a jack. And Daehyung Lee exits this final table in 9th place for $1 million.
See the disappointment, devastation on his face. Just one hand. Korean contingency, though. Look at these folks. They're not disappointed. They're pumped for their guy.
Respect that. What a run by Lee.
If there is a way for final tabling the main event to leave you absolutely sick to your stomach for days, it's just an absolute cooler on the first hand.
See the look of disappointment, dismay. It's how nobody draws it up. Flip side, dream start for the chip leader.
Waz to the heavens. He's up to about 145 million.
What a setup, first hand.
My, oh my.
And Minghini gets the instant ladder.
Or $250,000.
Yeah, a little quarter mil, no problem.
20 blinds, I think, maybe.
After one hand?
Yeah. Decent hourly.
I mean,
Weird spot. That shows the fastest butts out in history.
Yeah, impossible not to be anything else.
We got a record break.
I don't think it can get any faster.
It's the quickest 250K I've ever
At least we
made.
broke one record. That's it.
crazy, eh? I don't think, never in the first
for
one.
sure.
Never, never. First time never, I guarantee it. We should ask. The first time
But
ever.
yeah, no, I think we would have heard. It would be a thing like whoever gets out the first hand of the match.
Pretty sure that never happened.
Have
in
you ever seen the
round
first two hands someone get knocked out?
I think in the first round, never happened.
Small raise blind versus blind. Chip leader versus grinder.
He can take whatever.
7-5.
Yeah, and you get all the, you know, you settle in the first fucking hand, but I mean, very hard to get away.
Have you ever made a quarter
Check
of a million
9-8.
that fast?
Might just be Waz's day.
Maybe.
He's going like
Took him
this.
10 days, but not even that
Four
fast.
straight
I
draw there
haven't.
for Mizrachi.
Amazing, eh? What a game.
That was sick. Sick block.
And if Waz wins it, this hand here, he just has a quarter
he
of the
has.
chips in play.
He has made that well.
Oh, yeah.
Grinder just out here.
Was on a heater. Was on a mini heater.
And Dunaway said it. Waz on a heater. Michael Mizrachi has been on some swings throughout the course of this tournament.
Guess I can't see very well.
Enters the
back
final
there. What's
table, though,
going
with a
on?
big stack. He caught up with Natalie Bodie before play began.
Well, Michael, 15 years ago, you win the PPC, you go on a run to the main event final table. 2025, you've done the same thing, win the PPC, and now another final table at the main event. How does this run compare to that one?
Well, first, the only difference is that I'm 15 years older. I can feel it in my legs, but it's just an amazing run, and just hoping to get better than 5th place. And I feel really good about this tournament. I mean, I think it was fate. After I had like 2 big blinds left, just the way everything went, it was just, and the key thing is, my favorite hand is 44. I am 44 years old, so this is meant to be.
Well, there you have it. And I got to ask you, your experience, it speaks for itself. How do you think your experience and being here before gives you an edge on this table?
I think the experience can be a big advantage for me. I think everyone plays great, but that experience is going to take me to the next step.
Good luck. Thanks for the time.
Appreciate the time from the grinder. Says it's written in the stars for him. Minghini, 2 queens, opens here, nothing doing for Bojovic.
We haven't talked, well, we just started, so we haven't gotten into really much of anything. But table draw obviously has so much to do with it. And I'm very curious how, for Waz, having grinder on his direct left will impact things.
So we take a look at Minghini's bio board presented by Play Poker Go, the 5-time WSOP circuit ring winner.
Like, Brent, if you're grinder, would that have been your first draft pick for where you want to sit when you're second in chips on the immediate left of
definitely.
the only guy who has you covered and a guy who you would imagine your ability to get live reads on, a true amateur player, a great story, a guy that probably a lot of our audience sees themselves in and was. is only, I think, heightened by sitting directly next to him.
I don't, maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, Waz already a set, now 2 kings. But to your point, yes, Mizrachi is in the catbird seat, directly in position of both Waz and Dunaway. And we know that B-Dun is not afraid to put chips in the middle.
Waz opens here with the kings.
Get a lot of hands, huh?
Loved Luka's rail chanting after he just folded the big blind.
Yeah.
That was strong. Kills Mizrachi to fold the 7-6 off.
I was just gonna say that. Grinder desperately wanted to get in there.
Yeah, he doesn't want to. He wants to play pots with Waz and with Dunaway. He just wants to play pots with anybody, let's be real.
John Wasnock out of Washington, went to UW. He and his wife, Brandy, who is also here, by the way, have 4 kids, Kylie, Coleman, Jake, and Josie, as we take a look at the entries throughout the last decade of the World Series of Poker Main Event. This is the 3rd biggest turnout.
They're good.
This crowd's electric, man. We were out there before, and what you're seeing on the rail behind the players are the players' invited guests. But there's limited capacity, obviously, in that area. Out on the other side, where the 25K horse is going on in this spillover area, there's another, it seemed like, a few hundred people out there. They were passing out Iceman T-shirts.
They prepared so well.
In English, too.
Yeah,
Imagine trying to play the 25K horse. You got Ivy out there, Helmuth, Negranu, inside this zoo.
Mattisau, who
you
promised us he was going to win it.
Yeah.
Mizrachi, the 5-3 suited.
Interesting.
To y'all's point, just wanted to play pots.
See weakness in that blind.
Right.
Well, not much weakness here as Hendrix looks down at ace-king. Hendrix and Minghini, the 2 shortest stacks. There's some separation, though, between the 2.
This is just, for Hendrix, I don't think anything other than pure shove. Just under 30 bigs.
Why does he not have a 3-bet size, Brian,
I'm
other
not
than
sure
shove?
ace-king is the hand you want to leave the door open with and allow Mizrachi to take it. I mean, what if Mizrachi has queen-jack off and just decides that Hendrix could be not a good spot, right? All the money on the line, at best, you're 60-40, but it looks like, to your point, he is just going to maybe...
Well, listen, I bet Adam to win this, and Adam just made the exact move I would have made, which is a terrible sign.
If Hendrix is, and the sizing is
Sizing's
large,
big.
13 million.
Perhaps just in case Minghini woke up with something, then Mizrachi jam.
Hold on. Mizrachi says he knows his hand. Tell us, Mike.
15.2? 13.2?
Discount.
This is kind of the sick part with Mizrachi is if he had 8-9 suited, he might consider calling. The fact that it's 5-3 of clubs, I would imagine we fold.
Mike rather patched up today.
Indeed. 4, 5.
And I will acknowledge I am not an ICM expert.
Oh, no one's ever said that, Brent.
So, you know, Hendrix has likely studied every single stack size, every scenario. That 3-bet might be just right rather than move it all in.
Iceman on the runway. Could be considered the official liftoff, though he's already accomplished plenty, more than $8 million. Career live tournament, earning 6 titles on the PokerGo Tour. Didn't take too much to get on top of Alaska's all-time money list. But now it's a massive lead for Hendrix on that list.
So the audience should know I have a small-ish financial incentive in Adam Hendrix winning. Not because there any backing or anything like that, but simply because after day 7, I bet him. I bet on him to win the tournament.
And is that because you guys share a playing card together?
I'd be lying if that didn't play a part. So it's kind of a double financial incentive because I own a lion's share of the Nick Wright, Adam Hendrix dual signed autographed
Value goes up
cards.
if he wins the main.
If he wins the main.
Yeah. Understandable. You're double dipping.
Yeah.
Dunaway opening here, prime example, I think, of what we're going to see from him. 2 big stacks to his left, just doesn't care. 9-7 suited.
He's in, yeah.
Which will be a blast to watch.
Guy is just a pure gambler. You love to see it.
If people are just tuning in for the main, he was the chip leader for a fair percentage of day 8. Came into today in a strong 3rd.
Entered day 5 even 3rd in chips. Day 6 started the day in 9th. Day 7 and 8.
Also, listed hobbies are, again, I mean, golf, hunting, college football, and traveling.
Love it.
just, I'm not a hunter, but that still sounds like about the manliest list of hobbies one could have.
Die-hard Oklahoma Sooners fan.
Yeah.
Doesn't really care for the NFL, which I'm...
Right.
That guy's playing the 9-7 suited all day.
Is in the oil and gas industry.
Yep.
Comes Waz, King 8 of diamonds.
Out of there.
Considered a tight fold considering the stack sizes that we have showcased at the top of your screen.
Maybe playing a part, one of the other bigger stacks is the big blind. Not going to be able to lean on maybe the shorter stacks as effectively, but I honestly have no idea.
Waz probably wasn't even thinking any of that other than hot start, let me settle down. He's going to pick his spots. You know, there will be other times where he decides to raise.
14
big hand
bigs
there.
on the button.
Yeah, Minghini.
Comes in for the min. Hallaert with 2 4s.
He might just send it.
We could see it.
If he thinks that Minghini has raise folds on the button. Yeah, max pressure. Here we go.
Do see it, and here we go. Minghini all into that wrist.
Ace queen for the short stack, 4s for the covering stack.
With the ace queen suited against 2 4s.
We want 4s to win.
Ace queen 4s. Ready?
I'll spell.
Well, that group behind Jarod will go absolutely nuts if he wins this flip.
I think he's got a bigger rail here than Mizrachi does Minghini.
So if Hallaert loses, he stacks pretty hurt.
Scott Stewart in the background.
Not the worst. 2 regs going on.
His girlfriend Elise on the rail as well. Comes 6-3 deuce with 1 diamond. So far, so good for Hallaert.
There's also just a couple eliminators. 4 or 5. You'd have, I guess, the straight outs.
Diamonds. Diamonds.
Turn is the 8 of hearts. That limits Minghini to 6 outs. 3 of them are live, as you see on the top of your screen.
In a few hours, they're going to mix it up by accident after they're drinking.
Needs an ace or a queen to avoid elimination in 8th. And the river is a 10. And that does it for Jarod Minghini. Just kind of hung around throughout these last couple days and most certainly earned himself $1.25 million.
Sure did. You know, maybe an unexpected ladder up into 8th with the early exit from Lee. But nothing to hang your head about, Mr. Minghini. 1.25. You're living everybody's dream out there, pal.
Jarod founded the Bobby Minghini Foundation, a nonprofit created to honor his brother's legacy. Died in a motorcycle accident a couple of years ago. They had a shared dream of competing around the world in snowboarding. They did just that. You know his brother would be proud.
And this more than doubles his career tournament winnings, which prior to this was just under $1 million. He only had 2 cashes in his career more than $65,000. So biggest, and the biggest was 160. So the biggest score of his career, obviously by a mile, for a guy who's had such a fascinating life.
Yeah.
Professional snowboarder, almost made the Olympic team, dealt with injury.
He went 0 for 40 last World Series of Poker. Put up Brent Hanks-like numbers.
That's it. Wait, which means maybe the door's open. Next year I can final table the main.
Was right back in there.
Yep. Notice the difference, by the way. We lost the 2 shortest stacks coming in. Now everybody pretty healthy.
Yeah, now everyone's at 30 big blinds plus.
Now it's sort of crazy.
Played 7 hands and already lost 2 players.
And I don't know what, again, I, like Brent, have not studied the ICM implications of a lot of this.
I've never studied anything.
What does it mean when the 3 shortest stacks are almost identical for ICM? Margets at 49 million, Bojovic at 47 million, and Hendrix at 51 million.
I believe, and I could be wrong, tight is right and folding makes money. You're
kind
just
of play the waiting game.
Yeah, you are trying to wait it out and make money, which that goes against the grain of this fellow we're looking at and Dunaway. There's no waiting for him. He's getting after it. He will take advantage of the tight play, as will Mizrachi. And I think even Was will adjust as our chip leader.
Which kind of makes the waiting game make even more sense, right, for our shorter stacks, knowing that there's the potential for Dunaway and Mizrachi to just go absolutely bananas.
They might play a chip lead pot inside 10 minutes, you know, getting it in with like ace 10 to 6. I'm not, I say that half kidding.
This one feels just over, right?
Like you'd never know with Dunaway, but yes.
There we go.
Just no future there, but
worth noting though. I mean, Was opened 6-5 suited under the gun. Hand prior opted to muck king 8 of diamonds.
And we replay that and we see a Was open and a Minghini shove, and it probably just folds around and Minghini wins that pot. Natalie Bodie standing by with Jarod Minghini, our 8th place finisher at the main.
After hands over, it's okay. Yeah, sometimes he does it during the normal hand.
You've now competed on poker's biggest stage. How do you describe what this run has been like?
I mean, it's been amazing the whole time, obviously ups and downs. I was grateful to be here. The big sweat was making the final table. That's obviously like everyone's goal in poker. I came in short stack today, so I knew I was going to be all in quickly. I wasn't scared to get the chips in. I'm playing to win. I'm not playing to ladder. Obviously, that's a dream spot. Unfortunately, he shows up with 4s there and we lose the flip, but happy with everything and grateful to be here.
Your rail has been here since day 1 supporting you. What was it like to go through this with them?
I mean, they've been monumental in the whole run. Just having them there to go talk and just like relieve stress, having them there at breaks, and just, I mean, even in group chats, all my poker friends, everyone else, like everyone around me has been monumental in this run, and I couldn't do it without them, and I'm thankful for everyone.
Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Natalie. Thanks, Jarod. But before you go nuts about the deuces, gotta say, we've run into Jarod time to time over the last few years, and just absolute class act. Never have seen him, you know, lose his temper, be short with anybody. Just cream of the crop as far as good people are concerned.
Well, that's very nice, but we now have
deuces. Now he can go nuts with the deuces. Had to fit that in.
In Mizrachi's.
Just I need a moment. If you know, I'm gonna mute my mic. I'll be back. Facing a 3-bet from Bojovic. I don't know if the Mallards are going to see the light of day, so to speak, but you never
got him in
know.
the hand of the right person if you want to try.
You never know with Mizrachi. He might just want to try and peel.
Jeff is studied, so Jeff would tell us this is what, quote, a pure fold.
Jeff would have never opened
He would have never opened the deuces.
Right.
Yeah, we would have just mucked him. And then I would have sent Brent a text after. Sorry, I had to fold deuces again.
Mikey will show you how these things are played.
Brent, if Mike won't play the Mallards, then I feel like maybe you're overplaying them.
That's a great point.
It's impossible for what it's worth, but yeah.
He hates to fold.
There we go. He's in there.
Bingo.
You think he was just debating 4-bet call?
I'm not rooting for anybody or anything in particular, but put a duck out there on the pond.
Ace king 4. 2 hearts though. A lot of backdoor draws.
Well, big flush draw.
He looked dismayed there. And that's check.
Not as dismayed as Brent looks right now.
I'm just saying, you know, he does have 2 clean outs if he does want to peel.
If that 4 of hearts had just been a 2 of spades with that texture, our guy Brent Hanks would be through the roof. Goes just 20%, Jeff, just trying to bait the grinder into sticking around.
Well, I mean, you can see just the guy wants to win every single pot. He's gotten him this far.
And I just want to point out, as this is happening, everybody that is on YouTube, we apologize. We had a serious attack on Poker Go, and our main broadcast has now flipped over. We are live on YouTube for the world to watch. So we say hello to everybody out here on the Poker Go YouTube channel. Spread the word, follow on social media. If we do receive the ability to put the broadcast back on Poker Go, we will certainly let you know, but for the time being, we will remain on YouTube.
There's a look at Jarod Minghini celebrating the accomplishment with his rail. And of course, rocking a great stash. Does it compare to these? Raleigh Fingers, Phil Jackson, Hulk,
oh my.
Tom Selleck, and Aaron Rodgers.
Wait a minute. What is? Where's Ted Lasso? Because that's the stash that I see is Lasso.
And Minghini, yeah, Minghini does have some Lasso.
Don Mattingly, doesn't he have a more?
Yeah,
presented by GTO Wizard.
I'm not one to criticize the brilliant, and I mean that, brilliant Poker Go production staff. Those maybe wouldn't have been the 5 go-to stashes I would have gone with.
Is that guy's name Raleigh Fingers? Is that
the Raleigh one? It might.
With the twisty curl
Yeah, what do you
there?
mean is that guy's name? I thought you were a sports fan.
Well, I don't.
Did they not get baseball, Oakland baseball in upstate New York when you were growing up?
I know this may surprise you, Nick, but we didn't have a lot of the Oakland A's games in Western New York out there in where I'm from.
I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and I was aware of Raleigh Fingers because I'm a sports fan, Brent.
I didn't know what MTV was until I went to college.
Here's what it is, Jeff. The Oakland A's during the Raleigh Fingers era, a little too successful for any Bills fan to really embrace.
Now, hold on. What was the Raleigh Fingers era when?
I mean, I think when the Oakland A's were winning a bunch of championships.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Was that like the McGuire, Jose Canseco era? Moving on.
This Mizrachi defends with the ace-3 suited.
Didn't the
Hallaert
ball
open.
go off the guy's head? And
that was Jose Canseco.
Yeah. They were a little worse.
They were a championship team?
No, not
before.
Seems like that would have lost some games. Here we are.
Yep, he's Brent Hanks. Alongside FS1's Nick Wright, I'm Jeff Platt. We're thrilled to have you all with us. Natalie Bodie's on the floor. Nick Schulman and Ali Najad at the break desk. Then they'll move into the broadcast booth. And we'll go out there. Full day of coverage planned. Full 2 days, I should say. Let's play down to a champion tomorrow.
See if Mike gets a little frustrated. The Mallards hand a moment ago calling the 3-bet, forced to give it up. Now just defending with ace-3 of clubs out of the big blind. He's got no taste here. Not saying he's done with it. He could very easily put in a check raise, and recognizing that the 9-8X texture should really be all his board.
And he's got some decent turn cards with this particular holding.
And he's sticking around.
How much?
Goes check call.
And all of a sudden, this feels like a somewhat important pot for Mike.
Absolutely. Turn brings another 8.
Brian, if he liked his hand on the flop, he should like it still.
One would think this is a good card. I don't believe that Kenny can bet. And look at the grinder. He certainly can. If he's reaching and leading, this probably just wins.
Does reach, does lead.
Absolutely can have all of the 8s.
Does win.
Very nice grinder.
And that's where I find it fascinating, because everybody talks about grinder not being studied, and I'm sure that's true. But that's a common theme amongst those people who are studied. When the middle card pairs, you can donk bet. He just intuitively felt it and knew it.
Perhaps has picked up on that trend that you can pick up on if you want to make optimal decisions in high-pressure spots. Then GTO Wizard AI has you covered. Study any situation, any bet size, making it the ultimate tool to prepare yourself for those critical moments at the table. Check it out now at gtowizard.com/pokergo to get started for free and save 10% off your first purchase.
Mike, there's a black.
Huh?
You know
There's a
what?
black in the
Product has gotten a lot of, I think, great free advertising during this World Series. And I hope it's not a GTO Wizard competitor. Booth Wizard.
Oh, the Booth Wizard.
The Booth Wizard. Which I've got to tell you.
Oh, man.
Listening to Nick tell Ali he spent the previous night drilling spots on Booth Wizard was one of the highlights of what's already been a brilliant main event.
Yeah, and you know what else, by the way, is I see Dunaway's 3-coin shirt. Shout out Randy Sadler out there on the rail. The night shift coin, I hate to take the jelly out of their donut, but somebody created it.
Really?
It's now out there in this weird world of meme coins.
I gotta tell you, and maybe this is more for off the air, I have a good feeling on who might have done that.
Don't buy it, by the way. This is not
Dunaway.
Dunaway is unreal.
Hallaert opens. Dunaway's 3-betting with the 7-3 suited from the cutoff with the chip leader behind him.
He truly just doesn't care. He's going to put these pocket 8s in absolute hell.
He's just going to put him right into the muck.
Yeah, the 8s just fold.
7-3 suited. Dunaway expecting a lot of tight play. He's trying to explode it.
Right.
Yeah. Kenny might call. I mean, the hand is really good, really nice. But there are, again, these giant payouts, these ladders. And you're going to see tighter folds than usual, especially from the well-studied players like Kenny Hallaert.
I think Kenny's going to fold, and this is just going to work.
I'm with you. I agree.
Yeah, there it is. It does get through. With the 7-3 suited from our 2023 World Series of Poker Monster Stack champion.
Yeah, so the Monster Stack honestly, I didn't feel like I feel like I'm a way better player now because of that experience. I think being on stage, the bright lights, so to speak, I think I'm a lot more calm this time. I feel like the monster stack, just playing that and going through that field and learning, and I think it just helped me tremendously for this moment, and I just feel ready to play. I feel like in a crazy zone. It's good.
Been pretty dialed in, works in the oil and gas industry. We mentioned Minghini snowboarding. You guys know Hallaert was an electrician?
8 years he was an electrician. I'm not making this up. He was an electrician for 8 years and then went into poker.
Was the investment consultant. Leo Margets hosts a podcast.
You ever?
So does Nick Wright.
You ever stuck a fork in an outlet before, Jeff, you know, as a child?
No, I have not.
It is not a pleasant experience. And
Thank you for
I would
letting us
imagine
know.
8 years of being electrocuted on the job, you find something else.
Also, Dunaway's about to have one of the most eclectic Hinden Mob pages ever, where if you sort it by biggest cash, third place, biggest cash of his career, 68,000 and change at the $1,700 Circuit Choctaw main event.
Just a good old boy, man. Born
Second
in Oklahoma
place,
and then Texas.
Yeah, second place on his career cashes, 1.1 million, the monster stack, and first place somewhere from 7th to 1st in the main event.
At least 1.5 million.
Yeah.
And he could finish somewhere from 7th to 1st. That's all very live.
Absolutely.
The majority of people that are tuning in, they see a lot of themselves in a guy like Dunaway and in a guy like Was. Just blue collar, regular person, loves to play poker. And it happens. You can final take.
can have an electronic device.
No phones.
So in theory, everybody would have to wait till the first break to see anything at all.
You say you needed a water? There's one here. It's unopened. I think it was his. So.
Jeff, I think this might deserve a and like that.
And just a quick moment, if you are on Poker Go, a subscriber, I am seeing that our subscription product is back over at pokergo.com. Still down on YouTube, but I am seeing the feed with the chat. So we are,
I think we're back in business.
Oh my goodness, thank you all so much for bearing with us.
So I think we should recap, most notably, the Adam Hendrix hand. The blind versus blind.
Yes, against Luka Bojovic.
So from memory, it was King 9 against 6 deuce.
Yes.
Flop.
Bojovic limped in pre, blind versus blind.
Correct.
Hendrix checked.
Hendrix in the big blind checks. Flop is Queen Jack 6.
Yes, rainbow.
It goes Bojovic bet.
Yes.
Adam raises to around 5.
Yes.
Bojovic with the King 9, 3 bets to around 10, or exactly 10, I think. Adam thinks for a while, 4 bets to 15 with, again, it is Queen Jack 6 rainbow. Hendrix has 6 deuce off. Bojovic has King 9 off. It's limped pre, and the action goes bet from Bojovic with his gut shot King high, raised to 5 million by Hendrix with the 6s, click back to 10 million with the King 9, click back
unbelievable
with the pair of 6s, and then Adam windmilled it.
Unbelievable.
Just showed the
Adam
brightness.
showed it.
And we will at some point, hopefully very soon, we'll get that hand out.
Yes.
And share it on social.
But it was, this is maybe me just trying to create a storyline, but it felt inspired by Mizrachi's presence in that there is a bit of a early on old school, I don't believe you. And so we're just going to go back and forth like the famous, I don't even remember what it was, but the famous Ivy hand in Europe at the final with the heads up when it just went click, click, click to a final shove. Grinder also won a hand with ace-3 that he went out and took after he was bleeding off some chips a bit to stabilize. I think those are the most noteworthy things we've had so far.
So we do apologize. We are back. We are stable, as seems to be the case, both on PokerGo as well as on our YouTube channel.
I gotta say, if it was gonna happen, we didn't miss any bust outs.
That was the time.
It was there was one amazing.
The Hendrix hand's pretty sick,
but it's not the very end.
Right.
Created some firewalls.
John Sin in 2018, the last player to start the final table in 4th and finish it on top.
Speaking of firewalls, maybe get a couple of those set up internally, right?
Yeah, might need those.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the world's greatest football writer, Bill Barnwell, watching and assigning me a version of the Jeff Platt curse to the stream. Saying,
wow.
You show up and the stream goes down.
That's what a lot of people are talking about.
Dunaway has been very, very active thus far. We expected that coming in. Now he's got the goods.
So we saw Dunaway 3-bet with 3-7 suited. We then saw him 3-bet again with ace-queen off. Both times Kenny had queen-jack suited. But the table has seen him very active. And the
keep
Grinder,
your eye on this one here with Grinder and Dunaway.
You hear from Grinder's rail.
Feels like we're going up.
It looks like
in the overflow area.
Yeah, this will be annoying if Grinder has to fold after 3-betting.
Dream spot for Dunaway. See Grinder 3-bet here. Hendrix, a very pretty King-Jack suit in.
Could get him in trouble. I don't think it will in this moment, but you know Hendrix coming in expected the fireworks between Dunaway and Mizrachi. They will be the most active players. If he finds these cold 4-bet types of scenarios, he might take it. This might not be a spot he elects to go with, but we'll see. Hendrix playing some street poker early on. That hand that we talked about that Nick broke down was 6 deuce off.
He has created a bit of separation between himself and Margets and Bojovic.
I think Mizrachi said good.
Yeah, he did.
Muttered it over.
Now, assuming the 4-bet is coming in, we know what Jeff and his fellow Wizards would do with Ace-4 suit.
I don't know about that.
No,
5-bet jam.
I'm telling you, if Dunaway gives any sort of rope here, and he's going to make it, what is the size?
35?
Oh.
Well, there's no rope.
He says, let's just go with this.
Whoa. 35. I mean, that just shuts it down.
Yeah, he's on.
Didn't recognize you for a second.
So much for that. I think. I mean, maybe Grinder still finds a way to get it in, but I doubt it.
Sounds like you're committed.
That is a really fascinating decision by Dunaway.
Yeah.
Almost just simply
Basically
declaring,
jamming.
I have no interest, even with kings, on playing a huge pot out of position against this guy. And so I want to remove all decisions. Am I misreading that? Is there any other?
I think Dunaway's just saying, bro, I don't want to mess around right here. That's it. I'm not messing around. Let's just move on. I'm not trying to get kings cracked, you know. 7 left in the main.
The beat unreal. As we remind you that NAPT Las Vegas is back at Resorts World for the 3rd year in a row. It runs November 3rd through the 12th. The highlights include the 50K Super High Roller and the 5K Main Event. Plus, there's a 1K PokerStars Open at the start of the series and a 1K Women's High Roller. PokerStars players in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Michigan, and Ontario have the chance to win their way to the NAPT.
If you got it, you got it. You know?
You got it, you got
Wise
it.
man once said.
I was not expecting to boy, so much ice.
The overflow areas are packed.
Empty cup or something. You're in America, you should never get a lot of ice.
This is a hot ticket.
You know that when I come to America, I travel with my own coffee. That's the level.
No respect for the fine American coffee makers.
I mean, the fine American coffee makers are just importers, right? Unless you're in Hawaii. I feel like it's, I mean, I get great coffee from an amazing grocery store in New York City called Zabar's, but I don't think it's local.
Not made in America?
I mean, I assume our coffee is not here, but again, I would tell Leo, like, you can get amazing coffee in America.
Stuff, yeah. A bit expensive here, perhaps, for the good stuff.
Tariffs? Why is it expensive here?
I knew. Brent's eyes lit up. And here's one of my favorite things about Brent Hanks. You can't ever accuse him of being political because he really just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right. Good point.
Like, what tariffs is a good line, but I don't know who is supposed to be insulted by it.
I'm not insulting anyone.
Exactly.
I'm begging the question.
And what, again, I apologize, just to go back. You taught which class?
This actually is good for my case. 5th and 6th grade.
Social studies.
Yeah, we learned a lot about the Boston Tea Party. Tariffs.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we only play 66.
It's a revolution.
32.
Margets defends with the Jack Deuce suited. Let's see a deuce in the window.
And again, we were having a slight geopolitical conversation, but it is noteworthy.
Very slight, yes.
Dunaway just opening under the gun +1.
God. It's not
outrageous.
If he likes
but
the hand, he just plays it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that with Dunaway. He treats this like a cash game,
I gotta
which
tell
makes
ya.
him dangerous.
It also reminds me of my style, which I've got to tell you, I'm not sure is great for Dunaway's chances, but it's giving me hope.
0 mistakes.
No mistakes.
Leo, non-believer.
Turns a gutter.
See if Dunaway fires up a second shell, turning that gutter. He just looks like he's in the zone, right? What we heard in his interview.
Oh, he does check back.
River brings the 10 of spades.
Does Dunaway just give up ever? Are you allowed to give up?
Really hard for him to bluff at this putt. It might work. He's playing it sort of like he could have had a flush draw.
Right.
Bet flop. Okay, I get called. Little resistance. Flush comes home.
And if you are against something like this, you can win with a bet. Potentially. Not definitively, but and checking, you're just giving it away.
Just going to give it up.
Might be a wise just wave it sort of scenario. Also some information gathered from Dunaway. What is Leo defending with?
Yeah, and maybe she has 4 or 5 and your 8 high just wins it.
That'll be good for Leo Margets, the 27th place finisher in 2009.
I was 27th in 2009, so of course it's very unfair to judge my game based on what I know now, but obviously, you know, like I'm a different, how not, no? A different player 17 years later. I think obviously I've improved a lot in terms of my technical skills, but the biggest difference is the mental. I think the main event is a super emotional event where you need to know how to manage your emotions very well. But then I don't know, my mantra, my goals has been to play to be proud of myself and have fun. Because since we are here, let's have fun.
Leo Margets, first woman to make the main final table in 30 years. Started working, by the way, after school at IMG.
Oh, really?
Sports management company.
So if I may, Jeff, just for the audience, because the blinds just went up, I just think it's worth noting. Bojovic is down 10 million, Hendrix is up 10 million. That's essentially due to that one hand we described. Wasnock is up a clean 50 million, again, from where they started. And then Dunaway, Hallaert are up 13 and 18. Leo is basically dead even. And then Grinder's down 24 million from where he started. So he's really the only player other than Bojovic that got involved in that weird hand that isn't in a better position from where they started. And that's obviously because we've had 2 players bust out, so those chips are distributed elsewhere. But I just wonder how Grinder is when he starts the day in second, and now all of a sudden sees himself right in the middle of the pack and far from the biggest stack, how that lands for him.
Well, he's kind of forcing it a little bit with the open and the ace deuce.
He is, right? Ace deuce off. He's just right back to work. He will be relentless. I don't expect him to really ever pump the brakes and say, okay, now I got to tighten up. He's just going to keep coming after it.
Gotta feel good to get that one over 75 million in chips now. 1 million, 2 million, a 2 million at big blind ante. Bojovic the shortest stack, but still comfortable. Still more than 20 bigs. Was king 10 off. Our chip leader, no thanks.
And Waz, after getting premium after premium, and the very first hand of the day, flops a set of fives against ace queen on queen jack 5 board. The last 40 minutes or so has been pretty content to fold. Leo, you'd imagine not folding here.
She has king 10 as well. I keep going back to this. You wonder if Waz opens the king 8 suited earlier, then Minghini jams ace queen suited, and Hallaert folds the 4s. Waz then folds the king 8 suited. It's just, you just never know.
It's kind of mind-boggling and warped to think about how just randomness can affect so much, especially in tournament poker.
On day 8, we had a 3-bet by ace queen into Waz's 4-bet with ace king. Padron has jacks, has Waz covered, tanks forever, folds them.
13.3.
The ace queen calls off, and Waz holds and propels him here. And now Kenny done getting pushed around.
3-betting with the ace 4 off.
Leo started the hand around 25, 26 bigs and out. And Nick, to what you were just talking about, that hand with Waz and with Padron, who finished in 10th place. Had he gone with the 2 jacks, Waz is out.
Correct. Yes.
Both players would have been eliminated, and Padron potentially may have been the chip leader coming into the final table.
I should have. I didn't finish it. I apologize. It came 8 high. The run out.
Right.
And by the way, you say both players would have been out. Ace queen probably folds.
Might just muck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And instead, Waz is sitting here with more than a quarter of the chips in play. 1.5 million locked up, and again, Jeff's the wizard. His stack right now is in real dollars worth 4.5 million.
I think it was worth 4.5 entering the day. So yeah, probably 6-ish. I don't know.
A little more. It's worth more than third place money is what.
Yeah, for sure.
My educated, and by educated, having studied 0 ICM spots ever,
Very educated.
Is this our? Oh, small blind. I was going to say I thought this was an open limp. My apologies.
6-4-3 straight draws for both. Waz is of the open-ended variety. Dunaway leads for 3.2 million. After talking with Waz over the last couple days, it feels like he's just in the middle of this magical experience. He's like got enough confidence in himself, like, hey, yeah, I'm playing solid. I realize some of these guys are really good.
Oh.
But I can put pressure on him, especially here. He makes it 8.5 million. Nice.
For Waz, this is a free roll, right? He said it.
Yeah, he said it.
Late,
Yeah.
2 nights ago at the end of the night that just has no pressure on his shoulders.
Dunaway makes the call.
Makes the call.
And Waz turns the straight.
This could get Dunaway in trouble if he wants to try and represent the Waz holding. I don't think it'll happen, but if somehow Waz were to check here, he would be opening up that river door for Dunaway to have to bluff, assuming it's some sort of brick. He does check. This is gross.
River brings another 6.
75-7.
Waz may have just given him more and more value for that turn straight. He may have opened up the door to receive max value.
You saw this coming, Brent.
It's happening, yeah.
And the call on the flop is, I know he had the best hand with queen high. It feels like you see a lot of times with that gut shot, a check raise on the flop. But a check call.
He led for 3.2, and then Waz raised.
I'm sorry, but
Waz is locked in.
Yeah, just snaps it off.
Dunaway
Dunaway mucks.
Waz doesn't have to show his hand either.
Oh.
As he extends his chip lead. He's got more than 80 million more than anybody else.
He's got more than 30% of the chips in play.
And again, not to be results oriented, and I'll ask you guys, but Dunaway's call of Waz's raise that on the flop is highly irregular, right? Sometimes in those spots when you have the gut shot, you put in the raise yourself. But just calling his raise with queen 7 on a 3-4-6 is not typically a thing, right? Am I
do
wrong?
think, to your point, you see that kind of action go check raise
Yes.
with a hand like that versus on 6-4-3.
I think
small blind versus big blind go lead.
Yeah, I think normally it's, you know, for Dunaway, check call or check raise is best rather than lead and then call a raise on the flop. But, you know, we got 2 overs to the board plus a gut shot to the straight. It's not that bad. I think really
And he was ahead. I mean, to be fair, queen high was
and that's
ahead.
why that shows you why you see a lot of continues there.
Yeah.
I just love the way that Waz decided to play it. Checking back turn, having made
knowing that Dunaway
straight. That's how he was able to maximize his profits that hand.
It's been a rough last couple hands for Margets as she opens the king 10 again and again gets 3-bet. This time by Dunaway, this time much smaller.
Grinder just hates to fold.
He's just trying to find a way to get in there.
Every time he has to fold.
I don't think he will be. I mean, we saw it when he had ace-jack off at the start of play with 18 players remaining and just open rip, essentially 20 bigs under the gun. When he gets into this, what he feels is short mentality, he's going to go for it. I'm telling you, Grinder will get all of his chips in the middle before anybody else. He really will.
Dunaway.
Oh.
Just keeps coming.
He's going to run into it once more as Waz looks down at kings.
Second time that Waz has had kings, I believe.
His 3-bet is to 10 million.
Oh.
And Grinder has ace king.
Oh my goodness. Absolute cooler. Just talking about Mizrachi, right? He's never folding.
You spoke this into existence.
Obviously you know this. We have no idea what's to come on this broadcast. So
we are spoiler free watching it with you all at home. He says raise it up.
Here we go. Crowd knows what that means. They're saying, oh, Mikey's getting it in. He's going to go all in. And he's going to be in terrible shape.
Not quite all in.
It's committing.
It's at 30 million. Everybody else an interested observer, a 400K pay jump.
Dunaway just sort of taking his time before he inevitably bows out of the way.
Waz's turn with the kings.
You want to count? I'm like, a lot. You want to count?
Yeah. Grinder. He wants to count.
I mean, at least an estimate here.
30.
I'm all in. Raise all in.
And here we go. More than 151 million in the middle.
Kings, ace king.
Ace king.
The winner of this hand's going to win the tournament. I'm going to say that right now.
I've got kings. He's got ace.
Mizrachi's going to take the chip lead or be out in 7th.
If he hits this ace, this place will explode.
Either Mizrachi's got 150 or Wasnock has half the chips in play.
Biggest pot of the main event. Jack 9-7. Clean for the kings. Grinder looks for an ace. We can see one was folded pre. That's why the ace of hearts is grayed out.
Crazy.
Turn card is a queen. The straight draw arrives.
All of a sudden.
But he doesn't obviously know. That only added one out. 3 tens folded.
It's got to be the ace of diamonds, the ace of clubs, or the 10 of diamonds for Michael Mizrachi, or his day is done. To stay alive.
Oh! Oh my God!
He finds the ace on the river.
He only had 3 live outs in the deck.
I'm sure you're rooting for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael the Grinder Mizrachi is your new chip leader after that.
And I understand what I said when it all went in. Sounds, and even when I replayed in my head, sounds premature. The winner of this hand is going to win the tournament. But if Waz had won it, he's at 260 million with 6 left. And now Grinder,
Fourth time in 2 days, man.
the most dangerous player at the table, if not the most studied, is the chip leader.
As we take a look at the leaderboard presented by Poker Stars, Mizrachi at more than 150 million, a 40 million lead over Waz. Hallaert in third, Dunaway, Hendrix, Margets, and Bojovic round out this final table. Not sure if it's possible to fill this main event with more drama.
This continues to be the greatest main event in history.
No arguments here.
Made for TV, baby.
It is, in my estimation, undeniably the best of what I would call the modern era, like the post-poker boom era of the last 15 to 20 years. It's
since Moneymaker, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, here he comes.
Now it's easy, right?
Back to work.
I got chips. I can raise every hand now. I even made side bets on me.
And Hendrix, who's played less hands than anyone at the table, and also played the most audacious hand of anyone at the table.
Both with the 6s. Of course, we keep talking about Michael Mizrachi being down to 3 big blinds, somehow making this final table. We've seen the roller coaster ride that's taken place today. But this whole tournament has been the absolute roller coaster for Mizrachi. He bagged less at the end of day 3 than he did at the end of day 1 and end of day 2.
Probably a long night for him before day 3.
He's from Florida, right? A lot of alligators there?
Yeah. I see it.
Yeah. Alligator blood, Jeff.
I see it.
Perhaps, you know, 23andMe. We'll figure some stuff out about Mizrachi.
To see that he's from Florida?
Well, you know.
I think 23andMe more goes like way back, not just where you're from.
Brent,
I mean,
were you under the
essentially
impression that
dinosaurs, right? Gators and crocodiles, they've been around since the prehistoric era? I was a social studies teacher, by the way, just reminding you.
I'll check the winner, Grinder says. He's kind of right.
And he does have the winner. So does
I do really appreciate the energy Grinder brings to a poker tournament. Guys showing emotion, fist bumping. I miss that in some of the biggest poker tournaments.
We need that, and now we have it in the biggest poker tournament. We have it from the 7-time bracelet winner, the 4-time Poker Players Championship winner. This is second main event final table. Just an extraordinary run throughout the World Series for the Grinder.
And is this a decent time for a mini rant, Jeff? 90 seconds?
Yeah, we'll give you 90. We can give him 90, right?
Oh, well,
because obviously one of the stories of this tournament was Kasuf. And one of the stories of the World Series prior to that was Cabral. And the talking and the antics and the general annoyances. And I understand, I think we all can agree, Kasuf went 7 steps too far and went so far people were like, actually, we need to be worried about him because we think something might be wrong with him. Nobody wants more of that. However, if the trade-off for in our biggest poker events is having more people who show they care, who are not too cool for school, and might have a little extra gamble in them and talk and try to bring back a bit of what made so many of us fall in love with the game is that some people take it a step too far. Me personally, I will take that every day of the week over with respect to great players. But like everyone doing their best Christoph Vogelsang impersonation of I'm going to cover every part of my face I can. I'm going to be stoic. That is not bringing people into the game. That is not fun to watch. And by the way, that doesn't remind any of us that aren't pros what poker is like when we play it. And even the best and biggest poker games in the world that aren't tournaments but are cash games for millions of dollars. People are drinking, they're trash talking, they're having fun, and there usually is a guy or two or a gal or two that gets out of line. And I'm okay with that rather than what has become, for I think a lot of amateur players, what they think is the way they're supposed to play. Like, well, if the best in the world are leaving a chip behind and silent and doing all this, that to me is not what's best for poker. It's not the most fun way to play. And it's one of the reasons I'm rooting for the grinder, because he is a nice, happy medium. He's not insulting anybody. He's not out of line, but he's passionate, he cares, and he's fun.
We gave you 180 seconds there because we're on board.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, fully support that entire statement.
Well, 180 seconds is about the shortest I've delivered a rant in 10 years, guys. So I did my best there.
Do indeed want to create a more welcoming atmosphere.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go, Brent. Hendrix deuces on the button.
Oh! Awful lay down.
Marget's the ace-10 suited. 20 bigs.
Can't just limp the button one time, you know, just one blind, just call. No?
Grinder called a 3-bet with deuces earlier. He's now the chip leader. Just saying.
Great point. As Hallaert looks down at 2 6s in the big blind. Again, Marget's starting the hand a little less than 20 bigs. These are two hands perhaps worthy of doing battle in this specific scenario. Hallaert does jam.
Yeah, and this hand might be too good. I think it has to call. I think ace-10 suited is a call. She knows it. She's gathering herself.
I call.
And she makes the call.
As 10 de corazones. As 10 de corazones. Me ha hecho push directo. ¿Contra qué? ¿Contra qué? Contra 6. As 10 de corazones.
Ace-10 of hearts against 6s. Margets goes to a rail like she's been doing. Can hardly watch.
Bien, 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 bien jugado, bien jugado. Cae, 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 caelas. Caelas. Corazón. Ha salido 6, ¿no? No, no ha salido, tranquila. No ha salido nada todavía. Tranquila, cae, cae, corazón, cae.
One of the most significant flips that we've seen in World Series of Poker main event history.
Rey de Majota. Corazón, corazón, corazones. As, 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 as.
Jack of hearts, 7-5, 3 to the royal. For now, Margets looks for an ace or 10.
Queen of hearts.
That would be a fun one. The turn is the ace.
Oh, but it's a spade.
Of spades. Not over yet. Hallaert looks for the 6 or the spade to eliminate Leo Margets. River card is a spade.
No pasa nada, Leo, lo has hecho súper, ¿eh? Eres la campeona, eres la número 1, eres la mejor.
Oh, the air's taken out of the room. As the well-deserved round of applause starts to come in for Leo Margets. A 7th place finish. And an outstanding performance that made history at the World Series of Poker main event.
2 spots shy of the best finish for a woman in this tournament's history. The most money ever made by any woman in this tournament's history. Her 2nd career deep run at the main. And it certainly felt like the person the poker world at large was rooting for. And now, I don't know about you guys, I'm stunned that 90 minutes in, we've lost a third of the field.
We've seen this before. It's crazy how many times we have seen it. We have seen it, yeah. Like, it's crazy.
The amount of action in the first hour, hour and a half compared to what we typically see at main event final tables.
Well, you have Dunaway, who's been mixing it up, Grinder, who wants to play every hand, Wasnock, who has played all the hands he's supposed to, he's just been dealt huge hands.
The dream. The dream. Russ.
Insane. Insane.
1.5 hours, right?
So hard to root against her.
Here are the players talking to it's everyone, the entire world was rooting for Margets.
You guys already owe me a few beers by now.
Beer? Okay. Thank you. I was thinking bottles of wine, but beer's fine with me.
I'm more a wine drinker, actually.
Okay.
So let's settle for that.
I'll get you wine.
Dunaway wants to just play ball, folks. He's in there with the 9 deuce off.
Oh, yeah.
Did you
feel like it was
it's going to be more than a beer or a bottle of wine.
Did it feel like he was coming or not, the spade?
Never in doubt.
Huh?
Never a doubt. And listen, it seems like Leo has not wanted to really lean into the fact that a woman hadn't made the final table in 30 years. Not that she was running from it, she didn't seem to really want that to be the story, and I understand that. But what is undeniably true is the poker world would be better off. The more people that play the game, the more people that play tournaments, the more people that are involved in anything, the better that industry gets. You get more personalities, you get more money, you get more interest, you get more all of it. And I think Leo making the final table obviously was great. And I also think that her unique, I don't know if personality is the right word, disposition just seemed to be one that people naturally were going to root for.
For sure.
I say that in part because I have a bet on Hendrix, and I just declared Grinder was going to win, and I found myself very sad that she was eliminated.
And it's, of course, with all due respect to a guy like Kenny Hallaert, who everybody seems to love in the poker industry. But you could hear a pin drop in this arena after that spade rolled off on the river.
Keep your eyes on this hand, not to get too far away from the action. Flop went check, check. Mizrachi decided to bet turn. Dunaway called, and now Mizrachi obviously would have to turn these 2 4s, I believe, into a bluff if he bets once more. Trying to target a 9, Jack 7, just shuts it down. He's going to be kicking himself.
Very nice.
Just one for Dunaway. That just one of many battles that we'll see between those two.
You'll be a big one.
Grinder with ace king again.
And again, he gives the
guys.
Not that we're big live reads guys.
I'm just telling you, I think Grinder's got a live tell. 2 thumbs to the
We're
skies
2 for 2 on that one.
is ace-king off.
Oh, and it's 2 jacks for Hendrix. Starting the hand with a little less than 30 bigs, facing the open from the chip leader.
What about you guys?
Second smallest stack on the table.
Could be.
Grinder just said, I'm not worried about him, I'm worried about you guys.
It's going to be a 40-second take and fold. It's in the camera.
Hendrix in between just, 3-bet call, I believe, with this hand. But because it's the Grinder, as the chip leader who's going to be opening a ton of hands, he says, all right, you know what? 3-bet, I'm willing to play for it all if he 4-bets all in. I don't think we're 3-bet folding 2 jacks against Mizrachi.
No chance.
And I don't think Mizrachi's ever just calling with these chips in this spot.
150 million.
There it is. There's the jam. Hendrix looks back.
He knows he's in a 6 spot right now. The way Mizrachi said that, he's going to call anyway. Here we go.
Here we go once more.
Jacks, ace, king.
Ace, king.
Could turn this tide of the tournament once again.
This is screen.
Ace, king, ace, king.
Hendrix will watch alongside his rail.
I'm jacks. Crazy.
Jack 6-3 rainbow. It is Jack. Jack 6-3 rainbow.
Electric atmosphere at the Horseshoe Event Center. Let's see 3. Queen, queen 4. So far, so good for the jacks of Adam Hendrix. The turn is a king. The turn is a king. Hendrix down to 2 outs. It's a jack there for the Iceman. No. And perhaps the toughest player left. One of the best pros out there in the game, Adam Hendrix, out in 6 for $1.9 million.
More than triples his previous career best score for, I think it's fair to say, one of the best young players in the world.
Absolutely.
Not only because I had a bet in on him, that's now in severe jeopardy because I was fading Hallaert.
Cleaning. It's a kid from Alaska. Go back each summer to do some fishing and eventually stopped fishing and started watching the main event. Inspired him, that led him here today, living out his dream. Final tabling, and he's going to walk home 6th place.
Still has that second dream to accomplish, right? One was final table in the main, one was win a World Series of Poker bracelet.
His day will come.
Oh, he's a huge, he will win a bracelet. I feel like the question is how many. And he does get to bring home to his fiancée, Kat, nearly $2 million. But we are now in an insane position where we have not hit the first break. 4 players are gone. Bojovic is at 18, and everyone else is at well north of 40 bigs.
Things will be a little different this time.
Deja vu.
Wow, that's a world record, guaranteed. 4 bust outs.
Bojovic has not had a great day, yet he's made $1.4 million in about an hour and a half.
I told you folding makes money.
Yeah, you did.
If you told Bojovic in the first hour 45, you're going to play 6% of the hands, lose 15 million, all because you got in a crazy click war.
5 million?
5 million to go.
And ladder 4 times.
2 players. Thank you.
Just think no way. Or maybe with this exact group, he could see the possibility. Sure glad we got the internet fixed.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Think the fans are excited? You know,
Just
if I was
imagining
at
a world
home on my couch watching the night shift like you and I, all three of us have done that. You, Jeff, you've been working. But I would be so angry, throwing stuff at my TV, tweeting left and right, get it back.
I got to tell you, pretty awful timing, though, by those sons of guns hackers, whoever did whatever they did. Because if their goal was to hurt the World Series or the stream or Poker Go, they took out the only uninteresting part of the entire tournament.
The only bad part, the only boring part is what they took out.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything, really.
You missed one very interesting small blind versus blind, Bojovic Hendrix. Nothing else. Everything else has been here.
You cleaned out the rim.
Anybody need a bracelet? Wristband?
Any hope Dunaway had of taking this away on the river, not that necessarily he was going to try to, probably just went away there.
Breaking records here for sure.
And I know we've been caught up in the moment, the excitement, but Mizrachi having more than 100 bigs,
One record that counts.
5-handed, is a problem for the other 4.
Interesting, Dunaway calling pre. Just checking back flop and turn. We try to go for it here on the river. He will not.
I think he has great feel.
Yeah.
You know, he did not expect to win the pot at any point of that hand, and he was right. I don't think Kenny was going to let him off the hook.
All right, it's the Iceman out in 6th, and Adam Hendrix is now standing by with our Natalie Bodie.
Adam, from a kid who started playing poker in college to the main event final table, what has this experience been like for you?
Yeah, it's a game changer for me. I feel like I've had some good wins and stuff like that, but nothing like the final table or like a bracelet. So this is a step up for me and very fulfilling.
What will be the most memorable part of competing on this stage when you look back?
I mean, I saw my rail after I busted and, you know, high-fived them and stuff. And just saw them. That's very nice. I mean, besides like your wedding or maybe your funeral, like you don't see all your loved ones in one place usually. So that's pretty nice.
Congrats on the run. Thank you for the time.
And he's going to have quite the wedding, I imagine, with another $2 million.
Also, it's very rare you see your funeral.
That's also true, yeah.
Another.
Seen some huge hands.
I'm surprised it's done. I would imagine he just calls. It's usually his style to just want to get mixed up with flops, but.
And that's part of why we've had such an insane 2 hours. Every spot, Brent, where there's been a choice, do I call this raise or 3-bet?
Yeah, it's been like the higher variance.
Every guy, every time, has chosen the 3-bet approach. Nobody's passively played a big hand.
With the exception of maybe hand number 1, which was just a cooler.
Correct.
Wow, Mizrachi.
Are you serious?
Squeezing 2 jacks. What?
Which is it?
11,500,000.
Oh my goodness.
Double fisting with the Millie chips.
I'm telling you,
is there any
Kenny Hallaert
Kenny
might have to
folds?
fold ace king. Second in chips, seeing this type of action, 3-bet, 4-bet behind.
Bojovic, by the way, sitting there thinking, maybe this can happen again.
This is insane.
600K pay jump from 5th to 4th.
You can see him doing the accounting. I mean, the door's open where he obviously could rip it, but just think about that spot. You're second in chips.
And you have 75 bigs going into the hand.
And it doesn't look like Mizrachi's messing around, right? He's got a hand. He knows that Mizrachi has a hand.
In this specific spot, though, if he did rip it, I think Mizrachi folds.
He might. He might. Look at the sizing. That 40 million from Mizrachi, that's already committing his stack to Dunaway, who's the 3-better.
Right, but not to Hallaert.
Not to Hallaert. But I'm saying, I just don't think that ace king off is in any sort of position to want to just play a pot for the main event. But you'd be talking about more than 60% of the chips in play if it all went in.
Whether he's right or not, I think Kenny thinks he's the best player left. And he's going to try to find a better spot.
I agree. This is not.
It's a great point.
This is not a hand you just want to get all in with right here, right now. Not with those payouts. Not with Bojovic having less than 20 bigs. This is sickening.
When he turned his head to the dealer, I thought he was going to just say all, looked like that when you turn your head to say all in, he turned his head to the dealer, said nothing, and now is turned back. I think he's folding.
And he does let go of the ace-king. Dunaway out as well, and Mizrachi extends his chip lead.
I don't blame him. I think you just kind of have to be sick about it and fold. And Nick, you nailed it. Kenny he feels very confident with his skill set. That is the type of spot he's trying to avoid at this stage.
And we haven't talked much because we haven't had room to breathe about the ladders and everything. So right now, if they had gotten it in there in that coin flip and Kenny comes up on the light side of the coin, he walks with 2.4. The next spot pays 3. Third pays 4 million. Second pays 6 million. And you have Bojovic sitting there with 16 bigs and Kenny feeling like, again, whether he should or not, feeling like I'm the best player at the table.
In a clear-cut second place right now.
I'd have gambled.
If you would reverse the roles there, right? If it was Dunaway, second in chips with the ace, right? If that was Dunaway,
they were going in.
We were going to play
a 350 million.
A 350 million chip pop for 60% of the chips in play.
Check.
Ace king, 1 spade.
Can I do my best Ali Najad?
Please.
Najad for a moment? A lot of opportunities here.
2 million.
I thought you were going to say something very perverse, and I was ready for it.
No, ready for anything.
That's not my style. Nor is it Ali's, of course. By the way, saw Ali's car when we were walking in.
He parks literally right next to the truck, just premium access for Ali.
Surprised it's not nicer, to be honest.
Yeah. Is that like a Tier C Bentley that he's got?
I mean, it's not Tier A.
Yeah. I think his day rate must be higher than ours.
Slightly, I would imagine so.
Kenny turns the flush draw. God, I feel like we just need time to breathe. I can't imagine what those guys feel like.
Check.
Well, good
King
thing.
of spades arrives on the river.
The weird spot where the third nut flush is only slightly better than just having queen high.
Curious if Kenny goes for a little value here, targeting the queen high, jack high holdings. You are a little bit concerned about Mizrachi playing a king in this fashion. Small bet flop, check, check, turn. But even if he did, you're never getting raised.
Flush.
Does go check, check.
Flush is good.
Chop it.
Kenny from Belgium, Brent. Have you been?
To Belgium?
Yes.
Is that in Ohio?
I'm not sure if there is a Belgium, Ohio. You know, that happens sometimes. Paris, Texas, and things like that. But no, I'm talking about the country. Brussels is there. Ghent, which I don't think is how you pronounce it, where he's from, is there.
Bruges.
Bruges, that was a famous movie.
Fantastic film.
Great film. Good chocolates, I hear, as well in Belgium.
So
where are you
you've
going
never
with
been.
this?
It was a genuine question.
Oh, no,
I was there.
Yeah.
I drove through Belgium with my wife and her grandparents who are in their 90s, who we take on trips. And it might have been the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life.
Is that right?
Wow.
Yeah. Just drive. Like, I don't know if there's a ton to do. We spent a couple days in Brussels, but as far as the beauty of it, it was unbelievable. It seemed like something you would like, Brent. You're a
What
bit of an
side of the
outdoorsman.
road do you drive on there?
I believe the one you're used to.
The normal side?
It's only British, Britain and British, old British territories that go on the left hand.
Okay, and then I can handle it, yeah. Someday, maybe I'll head over.
Sounds like Nick's day rate is slightly higher than ours also
Yeah.
with the Belgium trips.
I wasn't paying for it with Poker Go money.
That's good.
Are there any openings at FS1?
Is there a break in 7 minutes?
Yeah. Raised to 7 million.
Hallaert limps in with the ace-7, Dunaway with king-queen. Bumps it up to 7.
Dunaway is relentless, man.
Hallaert makes the call. Jack 5-3, couple hearts.
Pretty tough for Kenny to continue if Dunaway can find continuation.
That is 4,500,000.
At just over 25% though, Brent?
Yeah, it's pretty small. We'll see. If he had the ace of hearts, I think we're certainly in. There's not a lot of turn cards that you're overly excited about. Rather than call, maybe he's considering check raise with this type of holding, but really tricky against a guy like Dunaway. His stack size, again, with Dunaway, started the hand around 35 bigs. That might be the one thing to leverage. Does just call, though, not done with it.
Bojovic has to be watching this like, oh my God.
Absolutely
What?
is.
Is there going to be
Again.
another massive confrontation? And that card gives them both a little bit of future for the hand.
Dunaway turns the open-ender. Hallaert, 7 of hearts in his hand.
We have a break. 4 minutes. 4 minutes to break.
Check.
What? What?
You heard Grinder say 4 minutes to break. When we go to break, we'll send it to Ali Najad and Nick Schulman on the break desk. Then they'll be in the booth the rest of the way. We'll be out there on the floor in the middle of this electric atmosphere. In about an hour, you guys might see Brent jumping around with the Luka rail.
Yeah, I'm excited to get out there with the people. Going nuts on the rail.
Sure, by that point, Luka will have laddered his way up to third. Check, check. River deuce of diamonds.
We'll see if somehow Kenny can get the showdown with just ace high and be good. And I know, you, Jeff, you just pointed out, you know, Nick and Ali, not only will they be taking over for the remainder of today, pass the baton all day tomorrow to finish this thing off from start to finish.
I mean, I think that's something we would all say, something that they deserve and that the poker world deserves.
Absolutely. I don't even know if they realize that that's going to happen.
You just broke that news?
Well, maybe.
They're quite simply the greatest poker commentary duo of all time, and that is with no disrespect to any other duos. But the chemistry between them, plus what I comped it to before, and I will do it again, having Nick Schulman at this point in his career call these tournaments is as if in 2019, the 1 year in a decade that LeBron James wasn't in the finals, he was doing color commentary for the finals. When you have arguably the greatest player alive giving live thoughts on the biggest tournament, and now they get to crown the champion, it's unbelievable for poker fans everywhere. Meanwhile, Dunaway trying to think, is there a way I can wrestle this pot away, or is he trying to think, is king high sometimes just good enough?
He does check back.
He's going to be kicking himself. Great shot there. You saw how many people are in attendance, not just what we can see now, but wrapped all the way around this entire final table.
I mean, that's already with 4 eliminations.
Yeah.
Still a ton of people here. Hallaert was the chip leader going into both day 7 and day 8. overall has been pretty smooth for Kenny Hallaert. Same can be said for his day today. Smooth, not the way I would describe it for Michael Mizrachi. It's been way up and way down. Back and forth and back and forth. Kenny, backpack off. We gotta play hand, man. Oh, nice catch on the rail. The one-handed snag of the backpack. Oh, strong.
If I may, just very quickly, as this last hand before break, before we head out to the break desk. As Kenny has ace king.
Can I wear this Larry Bird shirt at the break desk, by the way, or no?
Well, you can wear whatever you want, Brent. I just want to thank you guys, Poker Go and everybody. I've talked about this a lot, you know, on my feeds on What's Right with Nick Wright, a little bit on the TV show First Things First. No free plugs, but there it is.
It's on FS1.
That what a true, absolute dream of mine it was to be a part of the World Series of Poker main event. And this has been one of the greatest honors of my career. And I greatly, greatly appreciate you guys. And I hope the audience has enjoyed it, as we might get one more big one before the break.
Well, let us say it's been an honor as well. I mean, not only have we been thrilled to get to know you over the last couple years, but for us to be in the booth during the main is like just awesome on another level. And when they mentioned your name, we thought that that was just the pinnacle for the two of us. Now, if we would have said no thanks on Nick, they would have still put you in here. But we did approve whatever that approval was worth.
Well, I appreciate it, and we might get one more big one.
Mizrachi's in there also with the 10-7. And he does flop to pair.
How does that flop come?
10-7. Hallaert, the Broadway draw, the open-ended straight draw for Was.
I would be shocked if Hallaert put another chip in the pot on this texture, being called from the small blind and the big blind.
Check.
8 on the turn.
That is 4.3.
Assuming you're right, Brent, and Kenny does fold, it feels like a pretty clear, at least, call for Was, though.
Certainly for Was. I'm unclear even if Kenny will fold with the draw to the nuts and against Mizrachi, who might just do this with, you know, a solo 10x holding. Any pair, really. And Was now just getting an incredible price with King Queen.
Great rail. River brings another 8.
And obviously not the card Mike was hoping to see.
Or really anybody was hoping.
Yeah, I think it's just
advantage of it.
Not. It's really more of a brick for Kenny and Was. I don't think Mike is that upset, right? Kenny never has queens, kings, or aces. There's not a lot of overpairs out there. You could be a little annoyed if Was somehow has like king, jack, ace, jack in this hand. But this likely just goes check through. I don't see Kenny being able to rep much.
King, jack, ace, jack is what I was thinking, but you might be right. The line doesn't make sense for that. And if it does check through, Grinder just adds to his massive chip lead. And Grinder's got nearly $250 million chips, guys.
He's got more than 40% of the chips in play.
The Michael Mizrachi show. Our show will continue as the players go to break. We have Ali Najad and Nick Schulman on the break desk for you, recapping the action, and then Ali and Nick will be in the booth. As we remind you that Play Poker Go is where the action never stops, and now you can chase your share of $1 million in gold every single hour. Jump into free online poker with real players and zero risk. Play now at playpokergo.com, available on web, iOS, and Android. A very quick commercial, and then Ali Najad and Poker Hall of Famer Nick Schulman at the break desk.
To do what I have to do.
You know what my problem is? I just don't believe you.
Let's see what this footballer is made out of.
I'm an aggressive player.
Stop showing off, mate. Are you kidding me?
Anything can happen in a big game on tour.
Well, much to the disappointment of many out in the poker world, there will be no first female champion here at the World Series of Poker Main Event. Horseshoe Las Vegas, Ali Najad alongside Nick Schulman. And I'll tell you what, I think everybody could use a little bit of a breather as the hazmat team is out here mopping up the floor. Tremendous amounts of violence and bloodshed here. Many have fallen unexpectedly. Let's dive really quickly into the leaderboard to see what the state of the union is right now. And I don't need to explain, if you've had your eyes trained on the proceedings thus far, Nick, who is at the top and why. The Grinder, $247 million.
Yeah, you really do get chills looking at that.
I mean, the distance between him and Kenny Hallaert, oh so grand. Hallert's done well for himself, $92 million there. You can see for third. You know, I'm a little bit breathless. I know we got a lot to unpack here, Nick, but just right off the top, you and I looked at one another on multiple occasions, a bit incredulous about what was unfolding.
Yeah, I know it's our job to talk during this segment, but I may be too breathless as well, so I'm going to need you to carry me. This has been really wild. I haven't heard a crowd pop like that when the Grinder hit that ace ever at a live poker tournament. So it's just, the energy in here is crazy, and
it might as well have been Drew Carey or Bob Barker delivering that turn, just given the absolute monumental nature of it, a huge ace.
And the 25K horse out there, everybody went nuts. You know, I made eye contact with so many people I know. What an insane moment.
Yeah, very much so. And the moment brought to you in part by Poker Stars. Let's talk a little bit about Leo Margets. You know, she had a tremendous amount of support, not just at large, but right here. Her rail was robust. You could feel that there was that buzz in the air, Nick, and then it all came crashing to a halt for her as you see the moment where it dawned. Unfortunately, not to be, but so much love being shown by her fellow players.
Unbelievable run. You know, when you see a run like that where everybody kind of gets together and is so excited and just rooting for her and stuff like that, it's a beautiful thing about poker. You know, sometimes we all come together. Everybody I spoke to, even if they're rooting for somebody else, they were like, I'd be cool with Margets, though.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought when all of a sudden the crowd erupted on the turn, we were going to have ourselves another one of those Grinder moments. Ace, and then all of a sudden snatched from her clutches. Were you all right with the way that she proceeded there, by the way? Limp the ace-10, sixes jam. She goes with it. Seems very straightforward, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, let's move forward then and take a look at the big moment for the Grinder. This is where he doubled. It was a Braxton Dunaway open. Then you saw that Queen 9 lacking durability, 3-bet by the King-King button of Wasnock, your chip leader coming in. The Grinder found himself the Ace-King. He's not afraid of variance, Nick. 4-betting to 30 million with 42 million back, and then the rest of the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, again,
Ballsy all in.
This moment was so wild.
151.4 million chip pot. The flop, Kings looked cozy. Wasnock's rail was holding on. The turn, the Queen. Hang tight, because you might think that it's the 10, but no, it's the ace. that rolled off. I said it was the turn, it was the river. It didn't matter where it happened. That was going to be the reaction. I was shocked there wasn't any lava spewing out of the rail just based on the volcanic nature of things.
It was so breathtaking. And I mean, the grinder is putting together sort of the greatest run in tournament poker history in a lot of ways. You know, there's room for interpretation, but with the 4th PPC this year, being where he is right now in the main and just hitting that card, it's all just...
He only had 3 actual outs in that particular spot, making it even more insane. Just really quickly, though, Nick, he marches to the beat of his own drum, does the grinder. He's not out here amongst the ilk of the GTO that are often referenced in the high roller communities, just zigging, zagging, doing it his way and doing it to great effect.
Yeah, you know, he's a singular sort of talent in live poker tournaments, and I think you summed it up really nicely. This is insane. It's a really beautiful thing to watch. And you know, Grinder, it was funny. I played with him day 1 of the PPC and kind of knew he was going to win. Or at the very least, it was that feeling. It's all happening again. He's so calm. He's so hard to kind of deal with. And it's just a different sort of thing, man. And this is truly wild. For him to have the chip lead 5 left in the main is something else.
Well, listen, the wilderness didn't stop with the grinder as we flash back to the moment for Margets, the hand that she played. We touched on it against Hallaert. It was effectively a hand of poker, but on a scale and a stage that likely the average poker player will never even come within sniffing distance of, Nick, and that's what magnifies both the joy for someone like Hallaert who ends up emerging victorious with the flush, and also the pain when it comes to her enduring that roller coaster after the jack-high flop.
This was nicely played from Margets, and by the way, she played great poker for days. I mean, it was really impressive. As we can see, slides into the lead, and we know the heartbreak is coming.
Those 6s, you could see Hallaert recognizing, perhaps more so than Margets Rail did, that there was still stuff to fade, and the shock, not quite the awe, was delivered on the end in an 81 million chip pot. And credit to Kenny Hallaert, absolutely one of the most respected and admired sort of ambassadors in the game, was the first to come over, shake the hand of Margets. And as she was on her way out, you know, a lot of people clearly wanted to grab her, Nick, you know, have that word, be there fresh, and she simply said, I need a moment.
Yeah, take all the time you need. I mean, it has to be so overwhelming, and the adrenaline dump, or, you know, all the emotions flooding out, I could only imagine, so.
Well, as many emotional and spectacular moments as the World Series has delivered to us here this summer, for me, and I know for many who have come to appreciate the body of work that you've turned in over the course of your entire career, as well as here in the booth that many are thankful for, Nick, there was one that was very special. This man is far too humble ever to bring it up himself, but just get a look at New York's finest, who was inducted into the Poker Hall of Fame, Nick Schulman himself, 64th inductee. Cash Game Streets, I confess, you lightened my wallet for many years online when we rumbled together 2 decades ago. 7 times you've been adorned with a World Series of Poker bracelet, including here this year. Just for those that didn't have an opportunity maybe to listen to the speech, who hadn't had the opportunity maybe to just kind of get a glimpse into what that was like for you, share, if you would, the gravity of that.
I mean, it was a special moment. You know, I have a hard time talking about these things because I find I don't really know what to say or how to put it into words. But of course, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, and I guess I'm such a big sports fan. You know, in most sports, the Hall of Fame, it's over. Where I feel like I'm finally starting to play okay. You know, like
I'll take the over on okay.
But I'm saying, you know, so it was a little bit. There was a little bit of angst with it, but, you know, I'm very happy and all of that.
Well, as you've hit one out of the park, there's some people in the on-deck circle with respect to induction, Nick, and let's walk through them because prior to today's break desk, there were some names that you really singled out, and it's challenging because only one person can make it in every single year. There's a bit of a backlog, and there's some discussion about how to fix this, but let's start with who else but the grinder. Won his 4th PPC this year, and now he might win the main.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Seidel who said, you know, just put him in. Like, let's just skip after the PPC. So I would think he has to get in at some point, you know? We're talking about 4 PPCs and potentially the main. Even just having this chip lead 5-handed in the main, this is iconic stuff. This is a one-of-a-kind legend, kind of like a John Daly in golf. I was thinking about other sports analogies, you know. He said something to a friend of mine that I thought was really profound one night, deep into the night. But he said, I understand things I just can't explain. And it really rings sort of true. You know, he just knows what you have a disproportionate amount of the time. He's a beautiful talent, so.
Well, what we've got is not too much time, but 5 other names I know you want to touch on quickly. Let's talk Jeremy Osmus. Basically a part of the furniture when it comes to deep runs.
Yeah, I mean, Osmus has been one of the best players in the world for a long time, and his results are tremendous. And just the way he carries himself, you know, he's a great guy. He does it the right way. And that's what's so tough about the Poker Hall of Fame with the whole one gets in. I know some people have advocated for more. One is really tough, but to me, Osmus seems like a Hall of Fame type player.
Well, you do have to wait until you're 40 years of age to be eligible. Of course, first ballot, there are some people in that conversation. Last year, this man won 3 bracelets in 1 year, sort of called his shot. I'm talking, of course, about Scott Seaver. His turn certainly would be a legitimate one.
Seaver, another iconic player, and last year was really special. It wasn't just that he won the 3 bracelets, but it was kind of the way he won it. He had one hand in deuce. That was really remarkable. Played high-stakes mixed cash. He's great in every game and kind of a little bit larger than life. So, you know, Seaver's getting in as well.
Well, how about Phil Galfond? You know, not to pivot too hard, but this is a man who absolutely terrorized anybody that was willing to grab a mouse and take him on in the 4-card streets for about as long as I can remember. Has sort of, you know, lessened the burden and the schedule of late, but his body of work speaking for itself too.
Yeah, and he was, you know, one of the first, if not the first, really influential in poker sort of content, coaching, training videos, et cetera, where he's phenomenal and you know, all his stuff is worth firing. Will play anybody heads up. PLO has beaten almost everybody.
Right.
So this is so hard, you know. I kind of hate this conversation, but it's a part of the fabric of the game.
Yeah, it's obviously a little bit uncomfortable. And if you thought it was challenging after we brought up those 5 names, how about Jason Kuhn?
Yeah.
He's becoming eligible. A 12-time Triton Super High Roller Series winner. Obviously outside the borders of the World Series, Nick, but that is about as stiff the competition that you could ever hope to assemble when it comes to getting it done, and yet he plants his flag over and over again.
Unequivocally one of the best players ever. Generally, that means you get into the Hall of Fame, so what can you say?
Last but not least, this one stands a little bit apart. And for some that are out there watching, maybe newer to the game, Nick, less familiar to them, but a legend unto his own right. They used to call him Professor Backwards, but forwards he marched for many, many years. Ted Forrest.
Yeah, I mean, just given what he did to me in one famous heads-up online session 20 years ago, to me, he's in. But I think people don't know how influential he was specifically in the stud games. He played his own way when, you know, before a lot of the modern ideas, you had a kind of player go rogue and change the fabric of the game. Sure. And then people start emulating their ideas, and Ted was certainly one of those guys. Well,
Michael Mizrachi has been the one to go rogue. All parties are currently guaranteed $2.4 million. We're going to throw you to about 10 minutes of highlights. Nick and I are going to hop into the booth and take you home as the first of 2 days of Final Table flows on.
Both of which happened this year. And
I gotta think he's got some reps online, because really he's played quite well for a while now. So, you know, sometimes the earnings are misleading, as we see Dunaway with the ace-queen.
Passed over by Veloso. Footnote on him, by the way, when asked, Sergio Veloso, that is, what his biggest strength at the table was, Nick, he replied, calmness, being methodical, not being too emotional, and very rational. Said his weakness would be being affected by bad energy at the table.
Strong. Very sort of honest self-assessment.
Yeah.
Minghini with the 7-6 off.
Big
See a flop.
Defending. Braxton Dunaway finding trip aces. 7 for Minghini with that 6 of clubs is going to be modestly costly, one would imagine.
Well said.
1.5.
$1.5 million a man to bring us to the turn. Oh, now Minghini obviously hasn't improved his hand in terms of the aces up, but now another road.
It's a tough card for Minghini. Generally, these counterfeited 2 pairs don't go quietly. More outs against something like jacks through kings, or 8s or 9s for that matter, and we do a good job of unblocking draws and so on. 5.4 is a hefty size from Dunaway. Maybe that will be a deterrent, but we could certainly understand a continue from Minghini. And it's interesting also at depth. His hand is very vulnerable. If he's ahead now, you could see ideas of just taking a stand. Very hard spot that we don't envy for Minghini. He does go for the call, and as we can see, this is very dire.
Consider just 13.5 million back, 5.4 the commitment to look up at a dry 3 of spades, bluff catch territory here, and Dunaway snap jams on him. I think he's going to make a believer out of Jarod Minghini.
I don't know, you know, all those properties of the counterfeited 2 pair still apply on this very dry 3 of spades river. I'm not sure what the ideas were prior as far as the proper way to play, so to speak, but I could see Hero calling this particular combo of aces and 7s. This is a very hard spot.
Can Jarod remove 9s through kings in this line?
You know, the 5.4 when it gets snapped on the turn, maybe. I don't know about the kings and queens, but maybe, Ali.
That would be helpful, of course, given his current plight.
And the complications are further given how many chips Dunaway has. He can afford to run a 3-barrel bluff. Does get away, bravo, sir.
And we have a 9-figure stack in the main. Braxton Dunaway feasting on Minghini bucks. And let's get a look at.
Thank you.
Go to a potential all-in. Okay.
Keep it low.
Get up. 2 10s. Hendrix.
Had to be us.
With the party spoiler,
Had to be
ace,
between us.
king suited. Breath held for the Spaniard. Perhaps.
So a Vamo sort of start.
Yeah, 6-4 deuce, a little exhale, but not all the way. No club on board is helpful. Irrelevant is the lone club on the turn. Warding off the aces and kings with every ounce of energy is Lautaro Guerra. 34 million in the middle, and it's going to go his way.
Certainly is.
Be seated.
Indeed. Huge.
You have 20.
And Margets still in
By the way,
hunt. Queens versus
all in.
tens.
Oh my.
Yes. Daehyung Lee on the wrong side of this one. Get up, by the way, just doubled, and now he looks to claim a pelt. And he's poised to do it on a 9-8 tray board.
I prefer to take time and take it.
Dire situation as it stands. The hearts work. Perhaps we work the low side of the straight draw. And there is the gutter on the turn. So add sevens to the relief. 6 outs, 5 of them actually available in a 40 million chip pot as the 46-year-old South Korean software engineer tries to wheel one in, and he does!
Haven't seen one of those in a little while.
Oh, miracle river.
Viva Korea. My.
Guerra must be a bit breathless after that one.
How many times is that now?
You know, Lee said his expectations on the main event are none. He's just having fun. But I'll tell you what, he didn't expect that. The other table, and it involves that short stack of Yeshan Bojovic with ace-king suited against 9, sort of a classic spot here. Luka, the covering stack.
He has, I don't know, 10 babies or something. Okay. 9 babies.
This was an open and then a jam and call off, and so far the 9s are doing good, clearing the big hurdle in an almost 30 million chip pot. There's Mom alongside. Oh no! And there's the ace, a dagger, Nick.
One time.
While this is a zero-proof broadcast, we are a bit punch-drunk here in Vegas as 9 have become 5. 4 eliminations and plenty of celebrations. As you see, Michael, the grinder, Mizrachi, your current chip leader, with no shortage of palms with which to make contact, his rail growing by the bust out as the vacancies are filled. But he's not the only one who has support out there. As you get a look at the remainder of the 2025 World Series of Poker main event by the numbers. $2.4 million, that's what we're assured as Luka Bojovic brings up the rear and Mizrachi by a wide margin heads the pack. Brought to you by PokerStars, that glimpse of the 5 remaining hopefuls. One of these 5 is gonna win $10 million and sport a $500,000 bracelet. Ali Najad now alongside Nick Schulman, Natalie Bodie, and Jeff Platt on the sidelines, and we are back underway midway through the $2 million level. And as we kick it back off, Nick, I ask you, did you ever think there would be a world in which simply midway through the first level, we've lost 4 souls on board?
Yeah, it's possible. And you know, Ali, I've always had kind of a hard time sounding excited, but I really am, my friend, and it's an honor to be here in the main event final table. Down to 5, as you said, it is a little bit surprising, but as you know, this no-limit hold'em can just erupt out of nowhere.
Well, Wasnock bubbles the cauldron on the button. Chip leader coming in on the day, 92 million now. Mid-pack stack, Mizrachi dominated, doesn't know it. Does step aside wisely. And we've seen that image on so many occasions, Nick, almost like an insect navigating the kitchen floor with the antennae kind of out, determining what is the safest way to go about things, and he just lands on the best decision more often than not.
Yeah, he had me fooled there.
You 150 something? Yeah, a little slightly over.
Bojovic with the air biscuit.
Good day for us.
Lays it down. Wasnock will snack.
He showed the ace, and Grinder said, what is that, ace 3? Kind of laughing.
Even absent the exchange. letting him know he's got a read. Well, there's your read on John Wasnock, brought to you by Play Poker Go. He goes by Waz, Seahawks fan, Mariners fan, Pacific Northwest roots, UW grad with 4 kids who are undoubtedly looking on right now, jumping on the couch cushions.
What a fun sweat that must be for the kids. See Pops out there, 5 left.
Do you think the only thing on their minds is how good is Christmas going to be this year? You know?
Yeah, Christmas might be on their mind.
No coal lumps in their future. Meanwhile, Wasnock delivering some lumps once more. 4 million. Again, an ace.
And we could see the grinder just really doing his whole thing. It's harder out there than it looks to deal with that is.
By the way, it isn't an act. He has very much been in the zone. That unbelievable ace on the river with the ace-king versus the kings was the beginning of this incredible spin-up. He was down to 3 big blinds in this event at one point, Nick. 1.9 million. And just look at him now. Hallaert defending. 7-8 comes up empty, as does the ace-high here.
Would imagine a C-bet from Waz does it.
That is 4.5.
He's sharing your imagination.
Take it, sir.
Not going to be sharing the pot, though. Well, he's a 50-year-old investment consultant, and I got to tell you, he's managed his portfolio to great effect. Consider the guaranteed ROI of a 10K buy-in and $2.4 million guaranteed. $600,000 pay ladder, not to be overshadowed, of course. That's 60 buy-ins. Bojovic's turn to find the ace-X on the button.
We'll see if he goes for the raise or just all in. 13 1/4 big blinds. Perhaps we're just all in, Ali.
Does feel like a reasonable approach. No Schulze, by the way, on the rail. He was a part of this final couple tables.
I think that's Samuel
Mueller
too, as well, though I'm not sure with the hat.
It is indeed.
He does do it. And the third 10-4 we see will be hitting the muck shortly.
Braxton Dunaway concedes.
Yeah, that's what's up. Is that German or doesn't matter?
Well, let's send it down to Natalie Bodie.
Leo, a historic run at the main event. What was this experience like for you?
Amazing experience. Like, obviously one of the best experiences of my life, like, for sure, of course.
You had an incredible rail here supporting you. What difference did that make?
All the difference, like, I felt ultra supported. I mean, they helped making this experience so special. It wouldn't have been the same because it's, I mean, they are friends, you know, it's not only poker buddies. And it's been sharing this with them and at some points, them telling me, like, this is the best poker moment they've lived, or even like moment they lived, because it was so emotional. I mean, I get the goosebumps, right? Like, it's, wow, and I'm so lucky to have lived this and with them. I mean, of course, I was super sad. I cried 2 minutes in the room because you wanna let it out. But then, to be honest, I'm okay now. Like, you know, it is what it is. I'm very proud of how I handled the whole thing until day 9. And I don't know, I mean, how crazy, right?
So much to be proud of. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Natalie, and thank you to Leo as well, because as we mentioned during that break desk, we were on hand when everybody was looking in the immediacy of the aftermath to kind of get her thoughts, and she very graciously said, I need a moment, and collected herself, and we know why. But then came back and shared that with us. So GG's to her, as a female champion in the main will have to wait. And Barbara Enright's record set back in 1995 as a 5th place finisher remains intact, as does Wasnock's gut shot straight draw.
I love anytime Waz does anything, the rail goes nuts. Check call, they go ballistic. We'll see for the grinder, does he keep applying pressure with these threes? He does a good job of not having Waz's hand and could bluff out something like 4s, etc.
Board texture that when you get check called on, you have some questions on blocking spades and all of the things like Waz has. He does check it back.
And now, right, maybe it's Waz who announces himself, but if he checks, these are always so tricky after checking the turn, but we have to think one of these two will be bluffing at this 17 million.
Well, 10 high generally doesn't get the sense it's going to be able to lay claim to what's in the middle. And again, the rail activating, as has Waz for 9 million here.
See if the grinder finds it, Ali. The raise, that is.
Yeah, you
Great
know.
play from Waz. Take it, sir.
One can feel so foolish when the raise does come in after we've let out there, but no concerns on this occasion. Well, we touched on Leo Margets and Barbara Enright, but they aren't the only two names that have etched themselves into the annals of deep runs for ladies in the main event. Kristen Fox, and of course, just 1 year ago, a 13th place finish, heartbreaker. Gael Bowman, you may remember, a 10th notched back in 12. Elizabeth Hille also with a deep run. And then Tiffany Williamson in 05. Those are the biggest payouts over the history of the main event for female combatants.
See what Dunaway goes for. It's a little bit tricky with Bojovic being the clear shorty, but he could definitely 3-bet this if inclined. Touch surprised to see just the flat, but it shows the willingness to fight.
5 million representing roughly 10% of his stack. And the surprise, I would assume, in part, is hitched to the 2 stacks to his left.
By the way, somebody let the grinder know he's got a lavender on the rail. He's in.
Eight, 5 offsuit. That's what he wants to do battle with. He has found the open-ender on a 10-9-7 board.
Everybody's found a little something.
Hallaert, of course, would devastate Grinder were the jack to roll off, and Dunaway with the 2 overs and the gutter. Interactions aplenty here in a 3-way affair. No follow through on Kenny's mind. Dunaway content to close the action quite quickly. Ugly duckling.
Huge card for Hallaert.
Yeah, for Kenny, it's actually quite attractive. Still just queen high, but you see the spade draw coming in. And you see Grinder doing what he's done so often en route to this massive stack, and that is lean on him.
It's interesting. Kenny still is somewhat uncapped. I don't think it's out of the realm for him to check great hands on the flop. Could go either way for him as far as call or raise. He knows the Grinder's not shy, which kind of makes one want to raise a little bit more than normal. But at the same time, if he winds up coming over the top, it's so devastating with a hand with so much equity. Looks like he calls. And for Dunaway, I think we have to close the action and call as well with a draw to the stone nuts. But it is 20% of his stack. Looks like with that smirk, he's likely gone. Perhaps not. The king is just good a fair amount of the time, too. Okay, huge river coming, Ali.
$48 million in the middle. Board pairing deuce. A real desiccant to what had otherwise taken shape.
Note the furrowed brow and the little squint.
Indicating determination.
We know the determination is there.
Look at this. The worst of 3 unpaired hands finds the barrel and finds the pot as the rich get richer.
That was tremendous. You could feel he really knew exactly where he was.
Oh, yeah.
Final table headlines. Leo Margets, best female finish in the modern era. $1.5 million went her way. Grinder, ace king versus 2 kings. Manages to find the needle on the end. There's a 600K pay ladder. Is what we're fighting for now with 2.4 million on lockup. I always marvel at the expeditious manner in which these rails get these t-shirts printed up. Is there like a drive-through t-shirt printing service or something? You know, this is really... Yeah. They get them designed, they get them printed, they get them distributed, and they're all rocking them.
This is a little bit close for the Grinder between all-in and just regular raise. The hand is so good. Does just essentially go for the all-in.
Easy decision.
Little pile driver out of the small. He continues to pick fruit. Average age of the final table is when things get underway 9-handed, ranging from 30 back in 2018 to the largest figure across the span of a decade, 41, as the relatively elder statesmen perhaps have helped get us up and over that 40-year-old threshold. Queen Jack now for the grinder.
Raise to 4 million.
Min raise. Bojovic with the dirty diaper. Hallaert with King 10.
4 million, right? 4.
It's a hard spot for Kenny playability-wise. Being in second against the big chip leader, especially the grinder. But of course, we're defending King 10.
Taking his time before paying the price of admission, which yields fruit. King, Jack, deuce. Top pair against second pair, poised to take a bite out of the grinder, which has been a difficult man to chomp down on the day. He's been doling out more bite marks than he's been issued.
That is 4.3.
And now he doles out a C-bet. 4.3. Kenny coming with the call. Another 8.6. Flows into the purse.
A little bit interesting. Might the grinder want to sort of merge this second pair?
Check.
Checking back feels very normal, but a bet might garner some value from a slightly worse jack and might even confuse something like King 6. Remember, it's not just this clip Kenny has to worry about. Ideas of grinder blasting off on the river are alarming, but we would think with the king and the 10, we have to fight on once more.
12.6. Things getting a bit more serious.
And these sorts of ideas in No Limit are always interesting. This isn't a straight value bet. It's a lot more complicated than that.
You know, oftentimes when the action is not on us, we don't find players looking over at the person upon whom the decision lies, but rather disengaging and sort of allowing the person upon whom the decision is to look. But you see grinder just eyes darting over.
Some of it's a little bit stylistic, and it does just come right home for Mike.
Very stylish 7 of diamonds on the end.
He's about to cross the 300 mil mark.
Top pair flushed right down the tubes. Oh. And hang on.
I don't think Kenny is ever doing anything but check. However, I did see that jockeying of the chips.
Ultimately, as you suspected, he does check it over, and value, of course.
And you know, some of the grabbing the chips might be to freeze the grinder occasionally or to feign that he was considering leading.
Good luck with that.
Agree, but, you know, Hallaert is here as well, 5 left. We can see it won't work this time, but might the idea have been to deter grinder occasionally with air. 50 million will be garnering a fold in short order.
One never knows to what extent future game horticulture is on Kenny's mind as he plants the seeds, but he's going to plant that king right into the bin. And that's going to plant Mizrachi right up to almost 300 million in chips. He knows how to whip him into a frenzy. Get a look at this, exclusive company. 2-time World Series of Poker main event final tablists. We knew Hallaert, we knew the grinder. Perhaps a bit forgotten the fact that Dan Harrington, Action Dan, 0304 back-to-back achievement. Ben Lamb also 6 years removed. Mark Newhouse, couple of back-to-backs for him as well. I always find that to be
Newhouse back-to-back was insane. Benba's really slept on with main event prowess.
Saoud, of course.
Saoud.
Suited and connected. Wasnock looks like he's got an idea.
Raise 4.
Deposits the 4 million.
And you know, this whole thing the grinder does where he always sizes Waz up and takes a little bit, it takes energy. That style isn't for everyone. I can't really do that out there. I gotta snap fold sometimes and keep it moving, but the grinder can.
Take it, Waz. His 5th ever cash at the World Series of Poker. First final table. Just 18 grand in World Series earnings coming into this one. Total of 143,000. What a dream this is, and it ain't over.
So cool.
Poker's been a lifelong hobby for John, who learned the game as a child. Used to play at the dinner table with grandma, later with mom, aunts, and cousins. You know, it can actually go a bit wrong when the only people you're playing against are family members. You know.
Oh, definitely. Note, grinder cupped his cards with 9 million. Just kind of splashed the salmon chips on both cards. Yeah, you know, those family poker games can get a little heated.
I guess it would be weird to stack mom and then get grounded. Oh, yeah? You like that? Go to your room.
Good phone, good phone.
So the suited ace picking up another nibble. Well, while these 5 are living out a dream, perhaps you've got one as well of playing under the lights at the Poker Go studio. True Classic and Go are giving 15 players a shot at a $5,000 package to compete in a signature end-of-year event. Just head to trueclassictees.com/TCPokerGo or scan the QR code on your screen to enter, tell your story, and take your shot. As you get a look at the 4 denominations in play, 100K at minimum, then you got some chocolate, some salmon, and what are we going to call the 5 million chip, Nick?
That's tough. It's kind of a silver,
Yeah.
is it? You know?
Sure.
Although they don't look that silver out there. They look more gray, but in the image, all in from Dunaway.
32.3 million stuffed in an uneventful reclamation. B Done, as he's affectionately known, $1.5 million in career tournament earnings, suggesting
chops, without question. The 42-year-old who doesn't make his living playing poker. He's in the oil and gas industry. Likes to sabotage oil rigs and collect settlements. I made that up. Responsible for the Deepwater Horizon catastrophe. No, that wasn't him. He's a landman, like Billy Bob Thornton on that Paramount Plus show. I know you haven't seen it yet. It's quite good, by the way.
Okay, Ali, you know, maybe you should start a blog with show recommendations and stuff.
That sounds time-consuming.
I think it's all in time for the grinder.
Not so much due to the Jack 8, but rather just due to the opportunity.
Yeah, although the Jack 8, not bad.
That's a walk.
It's better than Jack 6.
Nope.
There once more is the gentleman in the beret. Keep an eye on that one. Among the more colorful characters assembled right now. Average stack as you look at the Oats Overnight Tournament Summary. Winning is easier with 20 grams of protein. Please shake responsibly. How about 116.8 grams of chips? In millions, that is the average at present.
I've never reached that stage of the tournament where the average is 116.
Do you remember your deepest run in the main, Nick?
200 something.
When you were down there, was it impossible not to kind of imagine yourself in this moment here?
You know, it was a while ago, Ali. I don't remember. I really punted it off bad. I do remember.
Those ones stick with you too. And I think the fear of sort of a life-altering mistake that you won't be able to conquer sometimes does guide people into a more conservative approach. We saw a couple of big folds yesterday from Joey Padron in spots where he could have ascended to the chip lead, pocket 10s in particular. I recall, I think jacks were also in there, but Hallaert's not going to have any hesitations or reservations, I would imagine, about partaking with the ace-queen here in the face of grinder, big, little, going to work.
We would imagine Kenny will go for the just defend. Again, Bojovic 22 mil, Dunaway 37. These are just sort of common ideas, although it looks like he is reaching Ali. And one thing that's for sure is playing to win this particular tournament, with it not just being top heavy, but of course winning the main is an achievement of epic proportions. Kind of like this from Kenny.
You're tempted to think that this reaction is somehow so simple. And if you're thinking that, you've never been here. And few have. But 10 million up top. We are 7.6 million away from the top slot.
That's a lot of millions, Ali. Good hand, sir. Earn that one.
Chubby folks.
Kenny, playing under the Belgian banner, lives in London.
I'm too curious for this game.
$6 million in career tournament earnings for the man they call Spacey FCB, 43 years of age, live events advisor at Poker Stars, and is sort of on all sides of the operation when it comes to poker. Seasoned tourney player, but
really just a nice guy, too.
Yeah. I continue to really wonder how 8 years of being an electrician worked its way into being a professional poker player. I'm just, you know.
This spot is a pretty high frequency, just all in for the small blind in general. Dunaway under all sorts of pressure with that pay jump. And from the electrical streets to poker, you're right, Ali.
He's trying to zap B-Dun's big here. Not exactly high voltage, this Queen 8 of hearts, but worthy. Puts Braxton to a decision, which will be an easy one ultimately with the 5-3 offsuit.
Kenny's rail not as robust as the others. They're out there. I just heard the lone okay. It's not quite the Bojovic songs. And
you know, if the company he keeps is anything like he is, Nick, I suspect that a more reserved sort of crew.
Yeah.
Sort of the yang to...
Nice hand, Kenny.
The yang to Grinder's yin in terms of rails.
Well, the grinder rail you flat out don't want to mess with.
Tend to concur. We've not yet seen...
Could be going in here.
An all-out rail brawl.
And I'm rooting for one, Ali.
Dunaway ready to brawl, unfortunately. Wasnock not going to be able to patronize.
7 high.
You know, like a Gangs of New York or Braveheart, sort of just they eyeball each other and then they
it would
meet.
be fantastic.
And, you know, taking nothing away from the staffing decisions that were made in an effort to secure this World Series, but the specimens I've observed, I don't think would be keen to get into the middle of that ruckus. I think it might be we got a situation at the final table.
We're in the Thunderdome now.
I think that's Dunaway's rail. Yeah. Well,
if it is, he's not really acknowledging. I don't know those guys.
Would think Grinder puts a lot of pressure on Waz in general in this spot.
Nine-4. Coming up empty on the Queen 10 tray board. Wasnock with middle pair.
Check.
Limped blind versus blind. Mizrachi taking a little stab.
And basically a snap from Waz.
Followed by a snap check on the turn here.
Sometimes with a hand like this from Mike, there are bluffing ideas to just bluff a variety of rivers. Goes for check. Winner for Waz unless the Grinder finds a way.
$3 million and take it, as John comfortably sought value on the end. The dearly departed thus far, if you're just joining us, began early. Daehyung Lee, the first casualty, followed by Jarod Minghini. Leo Margets sometime after that. And then Adam Hendrix. Jax. What he staked his claim to. And I gotta say, Hendrix was sort of independent of chips and some of the favoritism that a deep stack might give you. One of my picks to make it down there, Nick. 2-3 remaining. Grinder, of course.
Hendrix is great. And he can add main event final tablelist to the resume, which is just no joke. You know, it's so impressive. Anybody who's made the final table of this event ever should be proud.
I don't think it's going to move the needle if, for some reason, things go awry and you find yourself in need of a gig at Subway or something like that. But it may not hurt. Maybe the manager is into poker.
Yeah, Ali, definitely.
Mizrachi into this 10-8 offsuit.
Touch close for Bojovic. These spots are sort of, we know we have the best hand, but are still meant to fold type ideas. Not know we have the best hand, but very often like the fold.
You know, initially, each player was given 8 tickets to the rail. And I'm fairly certain it didn't take long for Grinder's rail to find a loophole of some sort, as roughly 80 bracelets were.
Before we went out, a couple of them were coming over freaking out. He's got 15 people out there. They flew out here. And they're saying we can't sit up. I said, buddy, I'm commentating. What do you want from me, pal?
I'd hate for something bad to happen to someone out here.
I'm just saying, if somebody gets knocked out cold, it wasn't me, but it was me. But it does appear they're finally up there.
Wasnock drawing butter.
Waz with the crabs and the Grinder with an ace.
Oh, the Inquisition to the tune of 14 million here. Suited ace for Bojovic, Nick. In the small, pressure mounts upon that ever-dwindling stack of his.
It does mount, but
he dismounts.
Visions of occasionally Grinder busting Waz are so exciting for Bojovic. And just ace-8. For Waz, does he want to peel and try to hit that crab?
We got a big hand here.
Is he going crab fishing, Ali?
Yes, he is.
And note the pot is 33 million. I don't know if that's lucky for Waz.
Not the worst board
Still
for threes.
in the lead. No, but a difficult one to play.
You got a red one already.
What was this? Grinder flashing the pocket for us?
I think he flashed the ace tattoo.
Okay.
Maybe there's a 4 there, though.
8.5.
8.5 million the follow through.
You know, this scenario for Waz is just so hard to play. But the bravery is valiant. He's calling, Ali. Even 50 mil in there.
Counterfeiting nickel rolls off on the turn. The ace high now best.
And these spots are so interesting for the Grinder. He's the one who can have the boats. Waz really can't. We would think Mike thinks he's usually beat here or chopping. And he's really trying to put pressure on 6s, 8s, 9s. And of course, the other ace. We can see Waz somehow.
Yeah, bad turn. I had you before that.
All true. Take it, sir.
Facts, Waz. As the seemingly never-ending green candle continues to take shape on the Grinder chart. Well, this one is
wow,
perhaps an emblem of boredom in the truck, but we'll allow it.
No, I like this. G nicknames. Nothing but a G thing, Ali. Wow.
The great one, the Greek freak, the GOAT, the glove. I actually like a lot.
By the way, though, is that actually Brady's nickname per se? Like Gary Payton is the glove, but I think it's getting a little creative.
Wasn't it like the golden the golden child or something like that, or I thought I remember something. Surely Boston sports fans are going to be all over me.
We saw Hallaert unafraid with the ace-queen off. How does he want to play this king-jack suited?
It would be quite remarkable if this fictitious character, or perhaps not so fictitious character that we've conjured up on Grindr's rail, began to provide advice in situations like this.
That guy ain't fictitious, pal.
Do the right thing, Kenny. Don't be stupid.
It's 3-bet now. I'll see you later, Kenny. I'm just saying, brother. Oh, Dunaway in as well.
A big pot this one. Feel it.
And
Grindr declares he feels a big pot.
Somebody's busting.
oh. Prophesizing is Grindstradamus. King 10 tray. Top pair for Hallaert, second pair for Mizrachi. Doesn't seem like sufficient ingredients as it stands for someone to be sent packing with 14 million in the middle. There's the follow through. 5.5.
No road forward for Kenny, really, other than call. Don't like to speak in absolutes, but
He concurs. Dunaway's departure, a formality.
oh dear.
Lady in black on the turn, dressing Mizrachi with the best hand.
And you know, we would imagine Mike pursues further value, but Kenny's range is alarming and has all sorts of big-time coverage on this board. It isn't as if Kenny has that much King X, but he can have Queen Jack, Ace Queen, this one. And if we're Mike, we're trying to get more chips in right now, I do believe. And for Kenny, obviously nowhere to go but continue once more. Big pot here.
Believe mom and pop on the rail. Is it perhaps just efforting exactly who the presences are, as Mizrachi's effort is to the tune of 21.5 million. For Hallaert, the exit is not the option, and obviously the raise would seem reckless.
This is quite difficult. I would go for the call. I think it's clear, but maybe there are ideas that this sort of hand can just kind of rip or aggress beyond call. But he is going for the standard, let's call it 68 million in the middle. Grindr a 2-to-1 favorite.
The 4 is of zero concern.
I'll tell you what, Ali. This sometimes could be the end of Kenny Hallaert. It feels crazy to think that, but imagine how many hands Grindr is playing. And if you're in Kenny's seat, he can have so many bluffs from which to choose from.
This
note he sighs and looks back at his cards. It's really interesting watching him just kind of do his thing.
You think that's deliberate?
No. Not deliberate. I think he's just so free out there. He goes for 60 into 68, and I think this is going to take a little while.
60.
But nobody would be surprised to see Hallaert hero this off. Grinder kind of running away with this thing, Ali.
Well, Kenny's going to do a little math and determine if he clicks call and is wrong, as we can see he will be. Would be, rather. How much would he have left? And he is not in a rush to make his mind up here. This not making the decision any easier,
No,
Nick.
matters complicated further. And he picked an annoying size for Kenny. If he calls and he's wrong, he still has 24. Bojovic 16. He does pay it off. He hears the bad news, Ali. Oh my. That's a lot louder out there than it sounds at home, too.
Like Terrell
421 million, yes, Ali.
Like Terrell Owens on the Dallas Cowboys midfield star. He is basking. And I'm not sure anyone's going to be able to tackle this man. 421 million. Hallaert devastatingly sent down the leaderboard. Now keeping Bojovic and Dunaway company, 24-4 in the wake. I gotta tell you, if he just decides to drop the mic after this one, Vince McMahon should be the first call, you know?
That would be a cool arc for the Grinder to parlay this into the WWE.
His special move involves like a cheese grater or something like this.
Yeah, maybe he has chips. He's like all in and then knocks you out cold or something.
Yeah, he just sprinkles them on your lifeless.
72% of the chips in play. We see the bracelet there. They're saying it's worth $500,000. Kind of looks like it is.
Nick, there's a good bit of poker left to play. And I'm not trying to click my heels and ride a broom whatsoever.
Big slick for Bojovic. Go on, Ali. He is the outright favorite to win right now, if that was the question.
Is there really anything other than a misstep on his part or a sun run on someone else's that's going to be able to dethrone him?
You know, sometimes you just, a few all-ins don't go your way and all of a sudden it's close again. A lot can still happen, but we see the situation, Ali, as Bojovic says it. He's all in.
Precisely what he's been looking for.
See if Waz wakes up with anything. Oh, he does.
We've got a customer.
Waz definitely will be calling this 8 bigs and change.
Flicks in the call. And it isn't just the two participants on their feet. That 600K ladder and another step toward potential glory in the main could be upon us if the ace-jack cracks ace-king. As is so often the case, gladiators tend to head to their corners.
So ace of clubs working for Waz.
And working hard. Steel wheel draw. The wheel obviously is a chop card.
clubs.
This one's sweatier than a streetwalker in church. Jack on the turn.
Devastating for Bojovic.
A tortuous changing of the lead. Bojovic not out of it.
3 out of me.
The king is of use for the whole 36. The 5 to carve. And instead it's a 6.
What a run for Bojovic. Hard not to like that guy. You could tell how much his friends love him. They're still singing celebratory songs into the night. 5th place in the 2025 main. Very good game to you, sir. 2.4, Ali.
Add that to $700,000 in career tournament earnings across 81 caches for the 36-year-old Serbian who lives in Vienna. A doctor and semi-professional poker player. Flatlining here in the main.
Sure. Yeah. Here?
Wasnock absorbing the remains
They're gonna.
Oh, they want to keep
of
going?
They said
Bojovic.
maybe 3 if it was too quick. I think that was too quick.
Luka described his deep run as an amazing experience. Tried to stay grounded, take things one day at a time.
It's not done. They're still playing.
Did warn us that Israel was going to be loud.
Still playing?
The Balkan crew from Serbia and Croatia flew out, but they'll be flying back.
And they're talking to the tournament directors right now about whether we're continuing or not.
Well, Hallaert, 24-4, Dunaway 30.3. This is quite the distribution right now. And the pace at which they continue to drop.
And obviously we could see cards are in the air.
The plan is to play down to 3, but we want to leave some meat on the bone for tomorrow's coverage. Six offsuit in range for the grinder. And I would imagine this has been a very pesky seat draw for Waz at this
It's a very pesky seat draw, and again, we can see how much pressure he's under with Dunaway and Hallaert short.
King 7 vanquished. Little footnote on Bojovic, by the way, you know, if you're wondering, as you listen to these rails become so boisterous, if it matters, he says more and more as things progress, he sees the rails with the flags and the friends cheering, and he says it makes a difference. You know, if you ever get down here, final table of the main, Nick, I know you got some real cool customers in the Rolodex, and there's going to be some fairly poised.
Cut to the chase, Ali. Go on.
The rail. I am going to absolutely go nuts, and it is going to be somewhat embarrassing. So think about that when you're down to 10. You can punt and spare yourself.
Yeah.
Or make the FT and
it's
beware.
almost as if Shulman gave his chips away.
Well, King Jack not going to be giving anything away here. Wasnock on the button, arms crossed, chips soon to be deployed. Four left, Nick.
We would think so, Ali. He's taken sort of an odd amount of time, well within his right. Maybe he's thinking about sizing the open up to kind of deter Grinder from messing with him. Sometimes you reach a point in a hand where even though you should play, you gotta just sort of fold now after you've hit that kind of minute mark. I've been there plenty of times. You take that awkward amount of time where it's sort of obvious it's not a primo. And we'll see if Grinder kind of picks up on this. I'm by no means saying Waz gave it away, but it was a long amount of time before the open.
You do have to be careful and make sure you're baselining if you are tempted to make something of these sorts of delays, because there's some slippery characters out there that will be quite balanced in these moments.
And Grinder does make it 16 million.
I tend to agree with you, Nick, that there was an odious scent to the time taken.
By the way, Waz might not be going quietly. Perhaps that was part of his pre-open calculations, but he is gone. And Grinder rallies the rail once more.
You know, I've got bios on all the players, but oh, what I wouldn't give to have bios on all of his rail.
Hey, real quick, Ali, shout out the chat. We have 105,000 people watching concurrently right now. Much love, everybody. What an amazing main event this has been.
That's unbelievable.
Take another one, sir.
You know, as long as we are
Now imagine it isn't.
turning
Now imagine it
to
is.
chat and some of the viewers.
Yes, Ali?
Souza. Oh, pardon me. Real James Call out there on
James.
X
Yes.
is inquiring as to where he can buy Spearmint Rhino coin, because he feels like that one's going to pump soon.
I apologize for dangling the chat in front of Ali. Note the Grinder fully facing Waz. You know, this is a lot. This is real life right now for Waz. And I believe he's ready for it, but this is a crazy situation to find yourself in. And when I say he's ready, I just mean he's embracing it and doing his thing. He's conducted himself very well, but you got the Grinder fully facing you, rallying his rail, leg crossed.
Our clock is paused and
What happened? We're done?
break or done?
It's over.
We do have to do a color up. We're going to do some more building and stuff, so just hang on for just a moment. We're done for the night.
I believe they're calling it a day, Ali.
Yeah, TD's
Leave a
on
little
hand.
meat on the bone for tomorrow.
And I gotta say, Nick, generally speaking, you don't expect to be able to hit the rack with this little poker under your belt or this few players remaining when you play day 1 of 2 of a main event final table, and yet the tanks are gonna get replenished and they're gonna have plenty left over to fight for the title tomorrow.
What are we doing, buying these off?
Yeah.
I confess I'm kind of sad. I was just really getting wound up.
You know, it just is what it is, my man. Tomorrow will be a great day. Can the grinder close it out?
I tend to think he can.
Done.
Well, he's certainly the prohibitive favorite, to say the least. 76% of the chips in play.
8 million? Yeah.
This is lunacy.
Man.
It's going to be a bit of a David and Goliath affair.
I mean, forgive me, we've seen it all happen, but yet it's still shocking and hard to process. Look at this guy.
Just a surreal helping of tokens parked in front of Michael the Grinder Mizrachi, 4-time PPC winner, looking to add 1-time main event winner. And he is well poised to do that. And as we draw the curtain, let's check in with Jeff Platt and Natalie Bodie.
There are a lot of chips here, and they all belong to this man, Michael the Grinder Mizrachi. It's hard for me to put it into words. Can you, how this day has gone?
It's fate, buddy. I said 100% I'm win it. I felt it the whole time. I know. I'm 44. My favorite hand's 44, and it's won the Players' Championship. Now I feel like I'm in a really good spot. I just felt like, I think in this spot it was just more experience, but I got lucky too. I got a lot of, the ace king versus kings, I got lucky, but the hand played itself, and I had another ace king. I mean, every hand are just fate right now. It's God, the poker gods.
Okay, on that ace king versus kings, before we saw river, did you still feel it? Did you still feel like it was happening?
Yeah, not the 10. I knew the ace was coming. I felt like the ace on the river. I felt it. I don't know. It's just weird.
What's it going to take to close this thing out tomorrow?
An hour.
Meantime, what you needed to do, but that'll do it, about an hour.
We broke records, huh? That was pretty fast. It was one of the fastest, I think, ever, right?
We might break some more records tomorrow.
We'll break it tomorrow. We'll finish off tomorrow.
Okay, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks, Grinder. Let's send it over to Natalie Bodie.
John, you told me you got really into poker during the moneymaker era. Does what you're accomplishing right now feel a little reminiscent of that?
Yeah, I think there's definitely similarities. I mean, amateur, working professional, making a deep run. Seems like there's a lot of fans kind of behind that story.
Quickly, just because you brought it up, how'd you get off work for a couple weeks? What'd your boss say?
We had a company-wide on-site this last week that I had to get out of to come down and play, so very thankful for that.
Very cool. Gonna toss it to Jeff now, standing by with Kenny.
All right, thank you, Natalie. Kenny, pretty quick day, I would say.
Yeah, I think we have time to do a pretty long interview because I'm not sure if ever, like in, 4 hours of play, we got down to four-handed, and me having less than 10 big blinds and Stack having 10 big blinds, and it's could have finished this today, I think, even.
I know you got really involved in big pots later in the day, but earlier in the day, what was it like to be an observer to some of this?
Pretty nice, actually, because, I mean, if big pots are being played and you're not involved, it means that you're risking of not busting while other players are busting, and you're, let's say, making some money. So that's quite a good thing. I was actually fortunate to bust 2 players myself. But then, the last level was, or the last hour, I should have to say, a little bit unfortunate. I lost, most of my chips. That's poker. It happens. So, nothing to do about it, yeah.
Finally.
I'm still in. I still have a shot.
You're still in. You still have a shot. So can you give us just a basic glimpse of the game plan tomorrow?
There are people smarter than me around me that will tell me what to do. Okay. They will brief me on everything. I'm quite sure about it. I will know exactly what I have to do, what I don't have to do, and we'll go from there.
Thank you for the time, Kenny. There's one more in this Final Four, and Braxton Dunaway is standing by with Natalie Bodie.
Braxton, a lot of support from Texas in the house. Who made the trip on your rail?
Just a lot of friends and family. A lot of people showed up.
Did you send out a group text, or how did that go?
I think I was just waiting to make sure that I made the final table, and it was kind of tough because everybody had rails already, and I was just sitting there like looking back like, oh, crickets when I want a hand. So it's good to have a lot of support that made it out.
You've said this week that it's felt natural that this would happen, that you've been present in every moment. What have been the emotions of this final table for you today?
I'd say everything's happened so fast, and there's been some wild hands. I've been pretty card dead and kind of chased a few times just trying to make something happen. So I've got myself in a tough spot. I just need to run fire tomorrow, honestly.
Big day tomorrow. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, B-Dun's going to be hunting a blowtorch to try to get it started tomorrow, and it will get started at 3 o'clock Pacific. 4 of 9 remaining as we buzzed right through 5, and we're still buzzing after an amazing partial day of poker with more to come tomorrow. Been a pleasure, my man. Short but sweet.
Likewise, Ali.
Set your alarms. 3 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow. The World Series of Poker Main Event is going to crown a champ. Don't miss it. Until then, see ya.